All right, good afternoon. It is now 4:30 PM on April the 14th, and the Bel Air Board of Town Commissioners Budget Work Session meeting is now open. I'm going to call the roll. Commissioner Foss,
Present.
Commissioner Chismar,
Here.
Commissioner Taylor,
Here.
and Commissioner Hanley.
Here.
All right, perfect. Everybody's here. And I did forget to make copies. Well, at any rate, may I have a oh, I'm sorry. I am as close as this. Right.
Yeah, I can't.
Okay.
You can't hear
Well,
me
wait a
either,
minute.
and I got mine on.
Turn the gain up.
I was like, I'm leaning in as far as I can. It doesn't sound right. So we'll just
Oh, just wasn't turned on?
testing 1, 2, 3. Can everybody hear me now?
Hello.
Yeah, mine seems a little
Test.
different, but
Test, test.
test,
You got-
test, test.
got me.
All right, we're good. All right. Actually, next is the approval of the agenda. May I have a motion?
So moved.
And may I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion of the agenda this evening? All right. In that case, I will call the roll for the vote. Commissioner Foss,
Aye.
Commissioner Chismar,
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor,
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Hanley.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. All right. Next week on our meeting on the 20th, we will have a presentation by Lieutenant Colonel Michael Como, who is with the Maryland Army National Guard. He's retired. He's currently a judge advocate for the Hartford American Legion Post 39 in Bel Air. And the event that he's going to be presenting about is the Veterans March for America 250, which will be during the 4th of July parade, and it is being organized by Post 39. So he wanted to come and address us partly to get the word out about the event, and he will, Mike Blum is very excited about having him here, so we will see him on the 20th.
That's supposed to be next week.
That is correct. That is
Okay.
not correctly listed
All right.
on our agenda exactly. He is
Got
not
it.
scheduled to be here today. That was a placeholder, I believe, on the agenda. He will be here on the 20th. And next we have the town administrator's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few announcements. This week is National Telecommunicators Week. We are encouraging everyone to recognize the dedication of the people who are the lifelines for fire, police, and EMS, our public safety dispatchers, and our 911 call takers. They are the thin gold line, if you will. Every emergency starts with them, and they play a critical role in protecting the lives of the public as well as our first responders, and this is the week that we honor them. This particular week unfortunately fell between a work session and a town meeting, where the proper presentation of a proclamation would have been the beginning of this week, but the way our meeting schedule lined up, it didn't work out. So if you have an opportunity to stop by Police Dispatch and just say thank you to the dispatchers, that would go a long way. The planned outage for BGE, which I emailed you all on, took place this past weekend. A lot of careful planning and scheduling. It went off as planned, and as far as I know, it was uneventful. Kite Festival was a huge success. Hundreds of participants were there, including Commissioners Chismars and Hanley. I'm not sure if I saw other commissioners there, but they were there along with our sponsor, APGFCU. We had over 1,000 kites distributed in the first hour or so of the event. Very, very well-attended event. The Downtown Alliance Flea Market was also a huge success. We had very large crowds in attendance. And then, again, the snafu in today's agenda, per our email discussion, Mr. Como will be added to the town meeting on the 20th in the presentation section. That's all I have for now, ma'am.
All right. Thank you very much. Any questions for Eddie? All right. So our tentative agenda for the town meeting on April the 20th, which will be at 7 p.m. here in Town Hall. First, we'll have the presentation recognizing the officers and first responders involved in locating the missing juvenile.
Dave, do you have that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Just briefly, the chief will be presenting numerous awards, well-coordinated effort, just an outstanding recovery of the critically missing juvenile. It was on January 25th of this year. 15-year-old juvenile walked away for about 3 hours, was found a mile away from his home. Obviously, the weather was sub-freezing temps, snow all over the ground, rough terrain. Corporal John Kaufman and MSP Trooper with K-9 were the ones that actually located him in the woods. Had a T-shirt on, had been out there for about 3 hours. So it's definitely a feel-good story. And it's gained a lot of traction in the media, local media especially, but then I know Discovery Channel and A&E are reaching out to us about doing a story on that as well, obtaining body-worn camera footage and everything else. So the awards will vary from life-saving to commendations, but it's like 4 PCOs, I think 4 or 5 officers, and then the trooper as well with the Bloodhound K9 Margo. I'm sure he'll probably bring the dog in here as well, or have him outside somewhere. So, but the chief will be presenting those on next week. So if you have any questions, I can answer them.
Sure. I'm looking forward to it. That was really a great moment,
Sure
to be
was.
outside that long in the cold, just wearing a T-shirt.
It
It was bitter.
well-coordinated effort among everybody, so they did a great job.
And special congratulations to the dog.
That's right, exactly.
All right. Any other questions about the presentation? All right, we will have a public hearing on Monday, April the 20th for ordinance 858-26, amending the Bel Air Town Code, Chapter 165, Comprehensive Plan and Development Regulations, Part 2, zoning Article 9, special provisions and modifications, Section 165-64, special provisions to add Section F, Development Rights and Responsibilities Agreement, as well as a public hearing on Resolution 1265-26, the Town Administrator's Fiscal Year 2027 Budget. And under unfinished business, we will start with ordinance 858-26, amending the Bel Air Town Code, Chapter 165, Comprehensive Plan and Development Regulations, Part 2, zoning Article 9, special provisions and modifications 165-64, special provisions to add Section F, Development Rights and Responsibilities Agreement. So is that going to be, all right, there you go. Wasn't sure who was going to start today on this one.
So we've been over this before. This is adopting the land use article, I think it's 7301, with respect to development rights and responsibilities agreements. As the commissioner sent this to the Planning Commission had a pretty robust question and answer session. The representatives of the Hartford Mall appeared in support of it, and the Planning Commission strongly supported that. It was recently brought to my attention that the Town of Bel Air Strategic Plan FY 20 to 24 actually calls to providing flexibility in the code with respect to developments as they convert from shopping centers into mixed use in the 24 US 1 district. Also, the ECDC issued a memorandum in support and requested amendments to be made to allow the ECDC to make comments. I will allow Ms. Robertson to give a little bit more information on that, as I was not at that meeting. But I'm happy to answer any questions of the commissioners again about this.
Go ahead, Angela.
Thank you. ECDC did discuss at their meeting last Thursday evening the DRRA legislation that is in front of you, and provided the letter of support that I've provided a copy to each of you. They were also in support, as was the Planning Commission. The DRRAs would provide a mechanism for the town to receive the enhanced public benefits that would benefit our residents. Providing this kind of tool is consistent, as Liz mentioned, with the comprehensive plan and our most recent strategic plan, in that the plan emphasizes that as one of the economic development priorities, we should provide support to the commercial developments located at the Four Corners. And it indicates that adjustments to the code which remove unnecessary hurdles for redevelopment be considered. This is a perfect example of how we can achieve that goal in our strategic plan. What we talked about at ECDC, and what I also appreciate about this legislation, is that the way that it's written provides a system of checks and balances with involvement from the town administrator, the Planning Commission, a public hearing, and ultimately approval by the Board of Town Commissioners. As you may have seen and Liz mentioned, ECDC does recommend an amendment to the legislation as drafted, as they would also like to be included as part of the process, with their feedback being given to the Planning Commission, as the exactions may have an impact on community development. Because all the other requirements under the town code must be satisfied in order to move ahead with the DRRA, and the fact that it is a contractual agreement, staff and ECDC both believe that this could really be a benefit to the town. One of the things to consider as you're looking at this agreement legislation is that we do not have many tools for the town of Bel Air itself to offer. Often when projects come to us, businesses come to us that are looking to locate here, I'm often referring them to resources that are available through either the county or the state. This agreement would give us our own tool to provide to those projects. We want to see the very best projects in Bel Air that will provide a benefit to the town and its residents. And this type of mechanism would create a measure of flexibility for the developer and create opportunities for the town of Bel Air. And again, there's always the opportunity when it gets to the Board of Town Commissioner level that there's a possibility that that wouldn't be approved. But having that sort of system in place does give us a tool where it's necessary for these more complex projects that we may see as redevelopment happens along our commercial corridor.
All right. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to say I support, you've heard me before, I support the legislation because even, we can get exactions out of this, which is for the betterment of the community. What kind of exactions we'll get, I don't know. That's all part of the negotiation process, but if they're not substantial or satisfactory to the board, we can always say no. I'd also like to propose in here that we have an additional make an amendment to this so that maybe at the next meeting to have an open hearing at the, in other words, introduce it at a Board of Town Commissioners meeting, and then at the next Town Commissioners meeting have the public hearing so that the people have it so that the citizens have time to review what the project is and what the exactions are. And we can get their feedback on that. In addition to that, from the Planning Commission, ECDC, the staff, and the like. And, times are changing, and I think we need to change our toolboxes a little. We need to give ourselves some additional, it's not a tool for every project. And again, the thing about it is that the way the process would work is they would have to initiate, the developer would have to initiate a request for a DRRA. They would give us some concept of what they're kind of due or of something, and then that's where we go into negotiations with exactions. And on top of that,
All right, we have a brief break while we unlock the door.
Unlock the
We
door.
do have someone here. And apparently the door has locked itself.
is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
We meant to be more
All right, Ms.
welcoming.
Donna.
We're sorry about that.
Yeah. No, you're good.
No. Mr. Krantz isn't here to make sure that our door is working properly, so I guess it got locked somehow.
So,
Yes, that's the problem.
right.
All right.
Okay. So
Now,
the fact
going
that we'll
back to-
see the concept up front, a little bit of the concept up front, and we deal with exactions and what would be best for the community. It then goes to the Planning Commission with the full plans. And again, then if the Planning Commission approves that with the exactions and found they're compatible with the comprehensive plan, then the full plan is known to us with the exactions. So we know the full plan going in, and then we have an option there to say yes or no. You say, we don't want it. And the only thing we've lost is some negotiating time. Now, granted, this is a 5-year term, but the way our rules are set up now, it could take up to 4 years to put a shovel in the ground. Okay, when you look at the project approval, time for planning, for a building permit, and the time to put a shovel in the ground, that equates out to about 4 years. And this is 5 years. Because you have 2 years on your approval, your planning commission, you get a 1-year extension, then you have 1 year to put it in the ground, to start.
I thought you were saying it always took that long. It can
No, it
take that
can
long.
take that
Okay, because
long.
I
No, I'm
was going
just
to say, I
saying
know
it can
Standard
take
on
that long,
Bond
right.
went way faster than
Yeah.
that. Okay.
No, that's all. And then what we're saying is you have to do this within 5 years. So that's the minimum time we have to do it there. So we're giving them a year, but we also, since there's certainty and there's the possibility that allows them to get funding sooner, that the project will be started sooner. We want projects to be, once we approve them, we want them to move out. And not, like you say, we talked about sitting still for years. And this could push that along. And there's also, you can put dates in there about what has to happen when in that agreement, okay? And then if not, then the agreement goes by and they're not vested anymore. So, I mean, we're really only giving up vesting for up to 5 years. And I think we have a good handle. We've made changes to the regs where for the commercial side, which is where this is going to be used, commercial and mixed use, really, I think the state's going to take early vesting for residential projects. So, you know, I think we have, by putting in our toolbox, we have a lot of control on this as to whether or not we want to use it or not, and to, if we do use it, what we want to put in there. And I just think it might make sense in certain applications, again, not all applications, to bring this forward. And, you know, things change now. All this, everything costs so much, getting financing, getting plans, all the stormwater management plans, traffic plans, all that just takes so much time, and this kind of
So my
complex project.
question is, does Aberdeen, Havre de Grace, or the county do DRRAs?
Havre de Grace just passed DRRAs. Aberdeen
Okay.
does not have them yet, nor
Okay.
does the county.
So,
County.
and the county doesn't have any either?
No.
Okay, and Havre de Grace hasn't any projects because they haven't had time yet, right? They just passed DRAs.
Yeah, they just passed it. I don't know if there's something like in the stream, if you will,
Pipeline, mhm.
that might have prompted it.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I believe it's the hospital project is what prompted Havre de Grace.
Could have
That's
been.
that was gonna be my guess.
Was it?
Yeah.
I can certainly
Figure.
check on that with the Director of Economic Development there
curious.
prior to our next meeting.
And do we
But
know any
I would
other?
imagine you're correct.
I think there are some in the Frederick, Carroll County area.
There's a
that
slew.
may
There's
have-
a slew
okay,
of
that's what I
municipalities that
Have
have
they-
around the state.
Have they used it, and do we know what projects they used it on? Like
I
what the
know,
outcome was?
Rockville is one. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the area, but Rockville Pike has a absolutely massive mixed-use concept that was developed over the course of a 15-year project. It was the same kind of concept on a bigger scale, though. It was phased in over, I mean, they kept extending it. The DRA is like the Bible. It's like this thick. You have to do this at this time. You have to do that. I don't remember what the exactions were. I just kind of glanced through, you know, to see how they formulated it. But there are a slew of other municipalities and counties that have DRRAs. And again, it's each to their own as far as like the state law is the state law. That's the frame. But they might have a little tweak here and there about public amenities or, you know, public hearings. So
In the case of the Hartford Mall, are they at 3 or 4 years now from the initial approval?
they are on their 1-year extension. So you have to get their building permit. I think it's by January.
Okay. So this, in effect, if this were to pass and we were to do a DRA with the mall, that would give them a 5-year extension.
Yes. But it would be, I mean, again, we'd have to talk more off the record, but the concept isn't just like
Right.
phase 2 is all we care about. We want everything. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Phase 2 is what they have to get their building permit on soon. The 3, 4, 5, they got time. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But a DRA does not have to cover all phases of, say, like the mall. It can only go, we can only do it for, say, phase 6 or whatever the center part is.
You could if you wanted to. It's up
Yeah.
to the parties and how
Right,
they
it's up to
structure
the parties
it.
and how we want to
Yeah,
structure it, right.
yeah, but I mean, the more
It doesn't have to
bang
cover
for
from
your
phase
buck.
1 through phase N of the mall project.
correct, but more bang for your buck would be to cover the entire thing.
Right.
Again, this is all subject to negotiation kind of thing. Does that make sense? But you
Yeah,
can.
no,
You could do
right.
either or. You could do either or.
Right.
So,
And if we did want to do it, if it did have to cover, or we wanted it to cover all the phases, you could still put gates in there. Phase
yes,
2 has to start
yes,
here.
yes,
3 has to start here, phase 4 has to start there, or end there, or whatever we want to put in there.
correct. Yeah,
We can put gates in there.
yeah, absolutely.
And I would just like to add that there is an intentional unwinding of the mall, no matter what. The mall,
Yeah.
as you see from my weekly reports, there are businesses closing on a weekly basis at the mall. The vacant space that helps them meet that 50% commercial threshold that they currently have to meet will not be rentable space. They aren't going to sign new leases for that vacant space. So we will just be looking at a vacant mall while the other phases go up around it. If we don't use some sort of tool to move forward to help this project. And we want to create the best scenario for attracting new businesses. So when you're looking at a vacant mall in the center of the property where you're saying, imagine your new business here, imagine if that space was gone, if the existing mall was gone, and we were able to offer a business looking to locate here, and for them to be able to actually see the space where they would be locating versus looking at a vacant mall. So it does provide, in this particular case, again, ECDC was not providing this letter of support directly related to the mall. As Steve mentioned, it is just a good tool for us to have in our toolbox, a mechanism for us to provide an opportunity for those type of contractual agreements with developers. But in the case of the Harford Mall, it would make the site more attractive to attract those businesses that we want, to allow that project to move forward more smoothly. I know that when we as the town and all of you are considering projects for us, we're always looking for ways that we can save money, where we can invest our money where it will have the most impact. And developers are looking to do, and Harford Mall's looking to do that same thing, where it would add to their cost to tear it down later versus doing it now when they're undertaking the tear down of Macy's for Phase 2. And we wouldn't want it to detract from those subsequent phases of the project.
I'm all for the mall moving forward and, getting taken down. I've understood all along that they're letting those leases expire so they can empty it and take it down. The problem is that the Planning Commission is the one that said 50% has to be commercial, correct, Liz?
Yes.
All right, so
And then
there's-
you guys codified that requirement in mixed use.
Correct. So there's nothing we can do to fix that problem for them. They'd have to go back to the Planning Commission.
But they would still have to, I think maybe that's a confusion, a point of confusion. They still have to go back to the Planning Commission. The question is whether they go back with a plan and say, this is what I'm going to do, less than 50, with a DRRA or without.
Right.
If they get the DRA, you get something. If they don't get the DRA, you don't get anything.
Right.
But they still get what they want.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That is their purview, and that is just fine. It's just that the DRA is not preventing them from doing anything, nor is the board. They need to go to the Planning Commission, get their act together, figure out what they're going to do, and then move forward with it, because we've been waiting for quite some time for them to have like a cohesive plan for the entire project and to get started.
Yeah, but remember, they don't have to provide a cohesive plan. They don't have to. You've asked.
Unfortunately.
Yes, you've asked for it, but they don't have to right now. If you had a DRRA, they may have to. You see, you can structure it in a little different way. You can be a little flexible with it. I mean, we're talking a lot about Harford Mall specifically, but obviously our whole goal here is to protect the entire town of Bel Air.
Of
And-
course, but
and
the people that came and supported it and the project at hand is the Harford Mall project.
Correct. So, but the point is that it can be used in other contexts. It can be used for other projects. Sometimes big developments like this spur new developments. And they say, oh, I want to do what they did. Tollgate Marketplace might go through a redevelopment. I'm not saying I know anything I don't. We got another 3 corners on that in that intersection. And some other properties that are much bigger in a commercial scale that could, potentially utilize this. I don't imagine, and me and Angela kind of brainstormed, I can't imagine any particular project in the downtown Main Street area that would really benefit. Standard Obond might have been one that could have benefited from it because he was looking for vesting in order to secure his financing, which would have helped. But again, we don't know what could happen. I'm certainly not going to shut the door to the downtown area. We're just kind of like brainstorming what could possibly happen, but there could always be a reason to use it in the future.
And Standard on Bond, got to move on, start a building, and they're, looking to, I think, start renting fairly soon, so.
Correct. So, yeah.
And my other question was, do we know what happened to the vesting bill in Annapolis?
It's still
It
pending.
passed.
did
I
pass.
have a full report at Commissioner's comments of a couple
all right.
bills of interest that I think we
All
all
right.
probably all want to hear about.
Coming
But yes,
highlights.
for the purposes of this conversation, it passed, and there's more to discuss later.
So if we, by going to the Planning Commission, they have to go back to the Planning Commission either way. If they go without a DRRA, they'd be requesting to have less than 50% with no promise of any more retail. They don't have to promise or show
Correct.
any more retail.
Correct.
If you go with a DRRA, is there some way to say that they must put in another 100,000 square feet of retail? So, because I'd like that not to be mainly residential as opposed to, you know,
Well, I mean,
'cause
they've
that's our commercial corners.
they've represented no more residential. I'm sure that we could certainly put that in the DRRA to formalize it. They've publicly stated it multiple times and know that it would not go well for more residential. You know, there's lots of things that we potentially could do because it's just a structure, so we can fill in the blanks as far as each individual project is concerned, dependent upon, you know, so many factors, you know, what they're willing to offer, you know, as far as an exaction, and what exactly they're planning on doing.
But is it feasible to say you must, when you tear down, if you tear down the whole mall, that you must put in another 50 or 100,000 square feet of retail?
Yeah, I mean, feasibility, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say they're agree to it, you know,
Well, right,
yeah,
not gonna say, but
conceptually, yeah.
conceptually.
Mhm.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, that way we can say that it's not going to be 54% residential and 46
Yeah.
retail,
Yeah.
as opposed to, I mean, that's all that we can maybe get them to ensure that they get
I
a
thought
little more retail.
I
Yeah.
thought that we couldn't require those things of them because that's the purview of the planning commission, and that would be preempting the ability of the planning commission to make those kinds of decisions.
I mean, because understand, like, it's a negotiated term, so if the developer says, yes, I'll agree, again, I'm just conceptually throwing it out there, you know, if they say, yeah, we'll agree to put, you know, tear down the mall and put another 100,000 square foot of retail in to replace what we knocked down, and as long as that is consistent with the comp plan, which I can't imagine, I'll look at the planning and say, tell me if I'm wrong, but replacing commercial is clearly consistent with the comp plan. As long as they make that finding, then yes. So it's a negotiated term, Jake. You can't circle around someone without a negotiated term. If they don't agree to it, you can't make them do it. Does that
Certainly.
make sense?
Well, obviously they have to agree to it, but my question is, 2 years later they change their mind. Have they waived their right to go back to the planning commission and change their design?
No, they probably haven't.
Right.
Unless the DRRA if the DRRA is gone, then it's gone. If it's expired.
What I'm asking, okay, 2 years down the road, the DRRA is still in force. We've put some provision in the DRRA that is, you know, says that they're going to do a certain amount of residential, but they want to go back to the planning commission and do a different amount. I mean, can the DRRA preempt their ability?
Yes.
It can.
Yes, so they would have to come back and request an amendment to the DRRA, and that procedure is set forth in the ordinance.
Okay.
And the amendment would have to go through a similar process with respect to the DRRA. It would have to be approved by the planning commission.
So then, maybe I should ask this question in the negative. What can't we do? Because at the front end of this conversation, I seem to recall you telling us that there are a lot of things that we couldn't ask of them and that we couldn't require of them in relation to the project. So what can't we do if that's something that we can do?
I mean, I'd have to take it case by case, but the things that you can't do are consistent across the board. You cannot do things like say, this cannot be affordable housing. This cannot be,
Of
you know,
course.
age restricted.
Yeah,
Or
we can't break federal law.
you
I
cannot.
got that.
Yeah,
I got that.
you cannot do that. As far as that, the rest of it is concerned, you don't want to structure a deal that is inconsistent with the comp plan. Whatever that may be, you know, because we're talking in sort of a vacuum here. I don't have facts to be able to say this is right, this is wrong, right? And whether or not the planning department would support it. So I can't give you any detailed specifics because I'm not exactly sure what you're asking me you would want to do versus what they can't do. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay.
I was under the impression that we could not exclude certain aspects of the project. I'd asked, for example, phase 2, the residential portion. I was told that it all had to be under one DRRA.
You would want it under one DRRA. They're going to want it under one DRRA. Because if you, okay, from a negotiating factor, okay, if you have 5 pieces of something and I'm buying them, I'm not going to pay you top dollar for one piece of those 5. Does that make sense? So they're probably going to want the entire thing that could be covered under DRA. Do you want to exclude it? You can ask and see. I mean, I think it's probably 99.9% chance they're going to say no, phase 2 has to be covered. That would be my guess, because they've got so much invested in it. Okay.
And it sounded at the planning commission meeting like their main motivation was to be able to tear down all at once.
Mm-hmm. To save money on the cost of demolition.
Right. Which
makes
that
sense.
I understand and agree with. I'm still reluctant on the DRAs, but I'd like to help them with that.
So outside of a DRRA, so they would just basically, this is how it would go. If they don't have a DRRA and the board doesn't want to have any part of this, then they're going to move forward with a less than 40. They're going to get approval for a less than 40, and they're going to tear down the mall. And that's what they're going to do.
You mean less than 50?
Or excuse me, I'm sorry, less than 50.
Right.
Yes, Jake. So they're running 40, their calculations, I haven't seen the actual numbers, planning hasn't seen the actual numbers, but it's like between 46 and 47% if they knock them all down.
And I think if you look at the CBL portfolio, if you go to their website and look at what they do are malls and open air centers and lifestyle centers, which this would be because it has a residential component. So that is what they're in the business of. So they're not looking, and they've made it known verbally. Again, there's nothing currently that they've had to provide in writing, I don't think, Liz, to the Planning Commission or elsewhere that says they won't do more residential, but that is not their goal. Their goal is to create a lifestyle center that revolves around retail that has some residential, that has a residential component. We have seen those types of projects be successful throughout the state of Maryland and across the country. As you're all aware, malls do not look like what they once looked like, so there need to be changes, and we need to evolve with those changes. And as Steve mentioned, what may have worked at one time doesn't necessarily work moving forward, that things have evolved, projects evolve, and we want to provide the best project possible that we can for the town of Bel Air. Allowing for a DRA for this project or others gives our residents something in return for what, the exaction, the enhanced public benefit. It gives the town something in return for what the developer is looking for.
I'm with Gavin on, I certainly don't want to see the mall sitting there empty, and taking it down in that order makes sense. It's unfortunate they didn't, explain that to the Planning Commission at the beginning and ended up with a number that now it doesn't work for them, and so they have to go back. I've been unimpressed with the plan so far. It looks like, sort of like the festival with, individual businesses and a lot of parking space and macadam to cross, as opposed to a unified concept. And that's been sort of my frustration with the whole thing. They didn't really have a plan, I don't think, when they started. And I get that may be partly the nature of the business, but
I would like to just go back in time a little bit to recall that when Phase 1 was, plans were brought before the Planning Commission, and even Phase 2, that Macy's was still in a long-term lease. Macy's still existed.
Yeah.
They weren't able to provide a full concept for the plan because they still had Macy's there. Again, things have evolved, things have changed. Macy's is now gone, much I know to your chagrin. This is, again, an opportunity that didn't exist several years ago when they first came before the Planning Commission, because plans looked different at the time. Macy's was still there. So, again, we have an opportunity before us, not just for this project, but for any project moving forward in the town that we can get something back for our residents in this enhanced public benefit.
And we started off the project with Shops at Hartford, then we moved to CBL. CBL still hasn't closed on the transfer of the Phase 2. Now enter SJC Ventures. Everybody's got their own architect. It's funny because I was just on the phone with Charlie Dawson, and I'm working through their sewer easements. The sewer easements are all messed up, and I'm trying to get them straightened out for the town. And we don't have plans on Phase 4, and they're filing for building permits. it's so kind of messed up with the back and forth and the, you know, who's on first kind of thing, that I told to Chris, we're probably gonna have to have another status meeting. But that as it may, you know, if we had something in writing, and I can't force them to do it, to say, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that by this date, by that date, otherwise you'd be involved in violation of the DRRA. So, again, it is up to the commissioners. I mean, legally,
That has been my frustration with this project, is I don't think I understand the problem with Macy's, but I just think they have not really had any kind of a cohesive plan, and they're making decisions, you know, on the fly, sort of. It would have made sense to take down everything so that it was cheaper for them to put in their infrastructure. Makes 100% of sense, but I don't understand why they didn't see that from the get-go. I've been kind of unimpressed with the plans that we've seen so far, and to say that they're coming in for a building permit and you don't have plans, it's like ridiculous.
I know, again, that's just an example of how many feet are in the fire and how many hands are in this, you know, moving it around.
My key takeaway, Madam Chair, is that there's accountability and it gives control back to the board. So there is a measure of accountability if we provide a structured DRRA, which you have control over. So just my two takeaways from our conversation this week when we discussed this.
And I did not send it out to you. I didn't hear back from Steve, so I wasn't sure if it was okay, but we did do an amendment to provide for a public hearing. It would be 2 public hearings, correct? One before a planning commission and one before the board. The DRA, as soon as it is filed with the department as a draft and it moves forward to the planning commission, it's a matter of public record. If anyone wants to see it, they can see it.
I do share Jake's concerns about us getting too involved in projects and becoming the super planning commission. We're not really structured that way. I'm not sure it's a great idea. I am curious about the Rockville Pike project, so I'll poke around and see if I can't find some pictures of that. I mean, I don't know why we're here still waiting for like the mall to, you know, arise out of the ground, or the new, whatever the new thing is that they're going to do. I would have thought they would have come in with a, you know, a Hunt Valley type project, since malls are dead. Although, you know, I've lived through strip malls, and then they were like, we don't want to be outside walking around in the rain, so we have to go to indoor malls. Now the wheel is turned again, and now we're back outside. So, but whatever is the thing of the moment, it just doesn't seem that this project is very well thought through. And I think we deserve better, frankly. I mean, there's a lot of money, if you draw a circle around the town, a lot of people, a lot of money to be spent. We deserve an upscale, really nice, beautiful project, and it's going to be so visible from US Route 1, from 24, from Tollgate Road.
I agree with you on that, but whether we have a DRA or not is really not going to change what they put there. The only thing will change is if we get any exactions.
I guess I'm not sure I really want to be involved with a project that I'm not going to like when it comes out of the ground, exactions or not.
Okay, we're going to get blamed for it anyway. Because we're the elected officials.
Well, we
and
are
don't
the
understand planning
elected
commission, but
officials.
yeah, I know. But, you know, that's why I would rather have a say in it and get blamed for it rather than not have a say in it and get blamed for it. But anyway, because some people, I think people will understand that if we get an exaction, they're going to, a reasonable person or average citizens, voters are going to say, yeah, you know, if you explain it to them, they understand that they're going to build what they're going to build. We don't really have too much say in that because that's their rights. If we can get something out of it, well, you may not like it, but we got something out of it.
And what does the developer get out of it?
Vesting.
That's
At the time, at the date of the agreement, they get vested in their approval, so any subsequent change of the law would not impact it.
And 5 additional years.
No, they only get 2 additional years. Correct, but they still have to go to the planning commission. If they don't have a DRA, they get 3 years. 2 years and then an extension.
That's 3.
3.
And then they have
And then they have a building permit for a
That's
year.
4
It's
for a
4.
year. That's 4.
Yeah,
And they could even get an extension on the building permit.
yeah, correct.
So just say 4 years versus 5. They have to be. Yeah, well, we can say, you gotta be digging, you gotta be in the ground by 5.
I'm sorry,
Well,
and
we
I
could
was
do it
referring,
sooner.
in the case of the mall, they would have if we were to enact a DRA with the mall, they would have 5 years. So let's say, until 2031,
To,
complete the DRA agreement.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
If you entered it now, you're saying if you entered it now, right, Gavin?
Right.
Yeah, correct.
and that either means, does that mean completion of the building? That's what's in, of all construction? Because the DRA would be 5 years, but there's no limit on built, without a DRA. 'Cause they can just keep building, and as long as they continuously build, they could take them 5 years, 6 years to build, as long as they keep going.
It could take them 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, but with the DRA, we might be able to, I don't know. It all depends on what we put in there, it all depends on what we can get out of it. But
I see Angela trying to jump in here.
When you're through, I don't want to interrupt. But, you know, to your point, Madam Chair, earlier about the type of project, I think we have seen SJC Ventures come to us and CBL with a proposed use for the former Macy's location. If we all know what that use is, and you look at other similar projects across the country with that high-end grocer, the co-locators that find themselves with that will bring us an upscale project. That is the goal here. So while I know that you would like to see that full plan and you're disappointed that we don't have the plan, we are getting a look at what types of businesses they're hoping to attract to Bel Air for our residents and the surrounding community. And that does, as Liz said, when we see that type of investment, tens of millions of dollars being invested in a property, that does create a ripple effect to other areas. We've seen that happen in our downtown when a certain project gets done or a block gets done, then we see that ripple effect of investment in surrounding properties.
I had several questions, but this was great listening because they were answered. Many of them were answered. But the one thing is, I think the public watching this, like, do they understand what an exaction is? That's a requirement.
So,
that is,
I'll-
and can you give us some examples? Because that's the only
Correct.
thing I'm afraid people may not understand.
Correct. Let's give an example. Again, there's nothing in the works. I'm going to caveat that. I'm just giving an example. Harford Mall, everybody knows where Harford Mall is. Everybody knows where Rockfield Manor is. If we wanted to, we could ask Harford Mall to build a playground on a where's Donna? I'm not doing that, but we could ask them to pay for and build a playground or provide funds to the town of Bel Air to build a playground on Rockfield Manor. As the law stands right now, you cannot do that. You cannot ask a developer who's here to do something as part of their development that is not touching or somehow intrinsically involved in their property. One thing people see a lot is when developments go through, you see lanes going through, you see new signals, you see relocated traffic patterns and that kind of stuff, because that's all related to that property and that project. You can't make them make a traffic improvement clear across town when it's not directly impacting them. So an exactions idea is that, okay, you're going to get an approval for this development. We are going to exact, or lack of a better word, bribe from you a benefit to the town of Bel Air that has absolutely nothing to do with the property. That's illegal. You can't do that. But with a DRRA, that allows you to do that. That allows you to do things like if the police department needed, another cruiser, fine, you're going to buy us a cruiser. What does the cruiser have to do with their property? Absolutely nothing. So, but it's a benefit to the town as a whole. It has to stay in the town. It has to benefit only the town residents. So I hope that clarified. You think that's okay?
I'm going to research some real-world examples of exactions of projects that have actually occurred, because it doesn't really excite me, because if I put myself in a developer's shoes, you're here to make money, so I'm going to offer the bare minimum because I don't want to spend more money. I mean, if you're a developer, that's what you would do. In addition, say we don't do the DRAs, they go to Planning Commission to go below 50%. I don't think they would keep retail below 50%. I think eventually they would, you want as much retail to make more money.
Gavin, I do have, it's pretty big, but I can send it to you. I have Rockfields, the Rockfield mixed use, if you want me to email. I can get, Chris had a whole list of municipalities, and we could probably track down some of the projects if you wanted to see what they look like. I can certainly do that. I can send you the Rockville one too if you want to.
And if it's too big, there might be a way to dump it into a joint
Yeah,
shared
a
drive or
link.
something like
Yeah.
that.
But they all have to be recorded, so they're, you know, as long as you know the name of the project or the owner, you can find it. So, okay.
Are we ready to move on from DRRAs?
Yes, I found a couple examples, but we can look at those later.
Okay, that's
So
a
I
great
just pulled-
idea. Under new business, we'll have Resolution 1267-26, the opioid litigation settlement authorization with 6 opioid manufacturers. Lisa, I'm assuming that's you?
No,
Somebody-
I'm sorry, I don't have it. I didn't realize that was me. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Michael normally does, and sorry.
Okay, so as you're aware, the town of Bel Air is a litigant in the national opioid litigation. We received another settlement authorization from 6 opioid manufacturers. These manufacturers are not your nationally known organizations like Rite Aid or Walgreens. These were kind of minor distributors. So the town's attorney for the opioid litigation is recommending that the town accept the most recent settlement offer. It's going to raise approximately $7,000 for the town. One thing that I wanted to point out for you, because it's in the resolution that you guys will subsequently pass, is that the settlement proceeds are restricted. They must go to certain programs, and there's a whole list. I put the list as part of the resolution. Chuck's lead program will be happy to be getting, probably, that's the only thing I could think of on the list that would probably, the town has.
There's others.
There's others? Okay. So there's other means, but it's restricted to only those types of programs that go back to the community for opioid addictions. Any questions?
No, I remember that there's always restricted dollars in these settlements, but we do manage to find places to use them.
Mhm.
So we're glad to have them.
Okay.
One of the key places is training, education, public education, purchase of Narcan, purchase of life-saving devices, and so forth. So there's about
Can we
probably
use
15.
that for our AEDs?
It's possible, yes, ma'am. Yes, possible, sure.
Just one of the things I know we're putting in parks, which I think is a great thing, and
I think it was like
talk about community benefit.
$7,300, but that was the gross before the settlement attorneys, escrow fees, and all that stuff come back out, so.
Of course. Okay. Anything further about the opioid litigation settlement? Okay. Resolution 1268-26, the tentative fiscal year 2027 budget.
That one is me.
All right.
But I don't have anything else to report. So
Okay.
just as a reminder, especially for Gavin and Kristen, the public hearing on Monday I will do a PowerPoint presentation on the general fund, and then it moves to the tentative budget. So no numbers change. Everything is still exactly the same. It's just we're swapping the titles. From town administrator's budget to tentative budget. It just becomes your working budget for the remainder of the budget sessions until we get to the second public hearing in May. Okay.
All right. Anything about the tentative fiscal year budget? All right, next we have the on-call painting contract. Steve.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We used to have an on-call painting contract with Colossal Contractors, and that was a piggyback through Harford County. That contract has expired, but they now have a contract with Baltimore County contract, basically with the same terms and so forth and pricing. So we'd like to piggyback on that contract. It's an on-call contract, so we would be able to give them a call whenever we needed painting work without having to go through the competitive bidding process or getting colors and things of that nature. They'd already be on board and know what to do. It's a contract not to exceed $75,000, exactly like we had several years ago. Does anyone have any questions on that?
I was just curious, what do we use
Would-
them to paint?
Yeah.
They
what
paint
we
like
painted.
what are we painting? What are we painting?
For example, in this year's budget right now, we have a project that we are painting the public works and planning, and also doing the ceiling tiles, and they would be able to do that work underneath that contract.
Okay, no, I was wondering if
Yeah,
it was
that-
road painting,
No,
fire
no, no,
hydrant
no, no,
painting,
no.
curb painting.
It's building painting, you know, office painting.
Okay.
So many
We
different-
just, we just have a job, all the doors in the bathrooms in the armory upstairs are scuffed up, so I could call them and say, can you come in and touch up these
Got it.
doors to make it look nicer without having to go out and getting 3 estimates and things of that nature.
Okay.
Yep. And so they have a set amount of money that they charge per person of a different level. You know, a regular painter's one price, a foreman is a different price, and that's all been competitively bid by Baltimore County and approved, so we utilize those same prices to do a project for ourselves.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll be bringing that before you at next Monday's meeting.
All right, so this is a not-to-exceed contract?
Exactly, $75,000 is what we have. It's, you know,
Right.
we
Depends on
basically
how
make it
many-
that so we don't have to come back to you in a half a year if it
Right.
exceeds that. But we always have a budget in your budget book that says, okay, we're going to do this project, and this project. Even though we say we don't want to exceed this, we don't usually exceed the prices of the budgets without having to come back to you for that project that's in the budget.
All right. Any questions for Steve? All right, and I think the next one is yours too, Steve, the purchase of refuse trucks.
Yes, this is the big one. We've discussed this on several occasions. Fortunately, things have kind of all come together really nicely, a lot quicker than I really ever anticipated. We found a contractor that we were able to piggyback on, who actually had already 2 of the exact trucks that we were looking to buy, and they're on hand and already built and everything like that. Originally, we thought we would have to wait for like a year for the truck and everything to be manufactured. So we have everything we need to do to set the whole project into motion. And it's through Sourcewell Contracting, so we'll be piggybacking on Sourcewell Contracting. Originally, I had anticipated purchasing a new front loader truck as well as a used front loader truck. And I always had concerns about how we would be able to buy the used front loader truck with our procurement policy the way it reads. With the 2 trucks that they have, I'm still able to go under my original budget that I presented to you all at a past meeting by over $140,000, I believe it is, to buy 2 brand new trucks and the equipment loader as well as all the containers for $1,020,000.
I'm glad you're saving us money, but boy, that's a big number.
It is a big number. It's a huge endeavor. But I feel very good about all the things. And another issue that we considered when thinking about whether to buy used or whether to stay too new is these trucks are set up exactly the same. So if a driver's using the one truck the one day and he goes and gets in the other truck the next day, all the controls and everything will be exactly the same as the other truck, rather than 2 different types of trucks, or if we were to get a used truck. So that's another big thing. Parts is another big thing. All the parts will be the same for both trucks. So we felt that this was the right thing to do at this point in time.
That's the Southwest model. They have all the same planes, so the mechanics can
Yes.
work, and all the parts are the same, and it just
Ex-
makes it easier
Right.
all around,
Exactly.
for safety as well.
Do you guys have any questions? If something comes up to you between now and then, I know it's a big purchase, it's a big deal. Lisa, are we set with that?
Yeah, so, if you remember the way we talked about funding, it would come from the capital reserve. And then, over the next 5 years, the savings within that line item in the budget would replenish the capital reserve. Now, there's no mechanism in place right now to do that. So that's one of the things that I think we still need to do, because the capital reserve policy doesn't really allow for an arrangement like this. So we can do it, but it's just gonna be verbal. You know, yes, it'll be in the minutes, but I think we need something a little bit more concrete than that, that will remain in the files for the 5 years, you know, to make sure that that capital reserve does get replenished.
If you weren't retiring, I would feel like that was less necessary.
Thank you.
I tend to agree. You know, we can't bind ourselves. Like, we can't bind a future board. If a future board says, you know, actually, you know, we want to use this money for something else, they're free to do that. They have the power of the purse. We have the power of the purse. I think it's smart, though, if only as a reminder for every year that we're doing the budget that, hey, we should be keeping up on track with this. That certainly is
Exactly.
appropriate.
I mean, it's going to put you all in a better place if that's done. And that was always, you know, when Steve and I and Eddie looked at this, that was always the intention was, yeah, it's great to have those savings within the general fund, the operating revenues for that fiscal year, but this is a big number, and it would be good if we could replenish that capital reserve, so there wasn't any detriment to it. So I haven't quite worked through what mechanism that might be. Maybe it's just a separate agenda, but we can talk a little further about that. And if you all have any ideas, and I'll talk to Michael and Eddie as well and see what we can come up with that everybody's comfortable with. But I would be more comfortable if we had something.
Now, Steve, I know that we had originally been looking at you said a 1-year lead time,
Yes, sir.
and is that still the case?
I think we can put her in a lot sooner than that. Well, one of the trucks is the container handler. It's the smaller truck that, you know, you utilize to move a container from point A to point B, not having used a big truck to do so. That truck still has to be manufactured. The chassis is all here. It's just putting the apparatus onto that chassis. So I'm thinking 9 months.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, get everything set and go through the contractual things that we need to handle with Liz and so forth like that. So, but I'm thinking 9 months.
Great.
Again, I got to thank Charlie Dawson and Marty in procurement. They really worked their butts off and got all this set up. We got estimates from 3 different companies and manufacturers. Originally, I thought the truck was going to be $410,000. I had estimate for that when I originally came to before you, and I'm getting it less than $375. I think it's $360 the truck instead of, you know, $410. So we got a nice deal because the trucks were already made. They were all sitting on somebody's lot, and he's anxious to get them off the lot.
So this 1.02 mil, Steve, is going to cover the 2 trucks,
It's going to
containers,
It's going to cover 2 front loader trucks, brand new, 1 container handler truck,
it includes the container handler
Yes.
truck, okay.
and 90 containers or
And 90
dumpsters,
containers,
if you
okay.
will, but that will be set out
So
at
3
the
trucks in the
16
container,
different
right.
condominium complexes in town.
Right, so 3 vehicles and all the containers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Ms. Moody, you said it would take 5 years to replenish?
That's just what we had talked about. It could probably be 4 years. Right now, I think the budget is around 250,000. Steve, does that sound right?
Yes.
It's around
In
250.
vicinity.
Yeah, in the vicinity that we spend now, paying the contractor. So, because the other item to this that we would need to use some of that $250,000 that's in the budget is to hire an additional laborer. We remember, if you all remember, we did
Yeah.
talk about that. And yeah, so I'm sorry.
1.
One, right?
1.
Yeah, 1. So we would want to utilize some of that 250 to be able to fund that new position, as well as some upward mobility
Yeah.
within the department. You know, you're not talking about a lot of dollars. And then what's ever left with that, you know, we could replenish. So maybe 4.5
Yeah.
years. I have to run the numbers, but you're looking somewhere around 4 to 5 years.
So, and another thing, not to interrupt Lisa, but
you're good.
one thing that really what this does is it takes out private contractor market fluctuations moving forward. You know, we already have in our possession the pricing for the next 2 fiscal years after this year, and they are substantial increases for the private pickup of that collection. So that's going to continue to grow, whereas our prices will pretty much stay standard with the regular payments for the equipment.
Yep, that's a good point.
We'll have much better control of the whole process, all the funding that it's going to take to operate the project.
That answer your question, Gavin? Okay.
Any more questions about the refuse trucks? All right. I'm glad you're saving us a lot of money, Steve, and I can't believe that it's earlier, but whoever that guy is has got stuck with those trucks on his lot. It was our benefit, so. All right, next we have the Verkada Safety Surveillance Trailer purchase.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. The police department will be proposing a sole source, one-time purchase in the total amount of $80,607.51 for the Verkada Safety Surveillance Trailer Cam. That's through Infinity Technologies. The breakdown is $78,927.51 in equipment and $1,680 in labor. Currently, as you guys know, we have the LVT cameras, LVT camera, trailer cam. It's an excellent product, but it doesn't quite meet these capabilities. And as you know, we're leasing those for $35,000 a year. So I know in the budget listening session, I know Elise had brought up, it kind of makes sense to, let's pull the trigger now, so we're not incurring the additional cost of the LVT camera after July 1. So, I mean, the operational capabilities, you guys know, you've been briefed on Verkada, are remarkable. AI features, and they're able to be integrated and have the enhanced capabilities with our current cameras that are going up now. Yeah, as you know, it's a game changer with investigations. It's a force multiplier. It's we can use it for any events. It's mobile. You know, it's not going to be affixed anywhere. We can move it to put anywhere we need, 4th of July, whatever event we might need. Problem-oriented policing, we have, you know, massive shoplifting in certain shopping centers. For example, Dick's Sporting Goods and Ulta. We can slide that thing right over there. Right now, we have the LVT camera in the McDonald's parking lot because we've been having a lot of issues with the juveniles over there. So we will be able to maneuver that thing around quite easily, and the capabilities are, as I said, tremendous. I just feel that it's going to be a big return, you know, big return on investment, pay big dividends, and again, it's a force multiplier. So for all those reasons, I think it makes sense.
I love that it's a force multiplier, and I love catching people that are coming out here to steal, so,
As I do too, ma'am.
all right.
Uh,
Any
Madam Chair,
questions
if I
about
may,
the-
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
So, like I mentioned in the budget listening session, obviously this is not in the budget. But we have funding will either come from the capital reserve, or when I do the budget amendment, review. I think at this point in time, the entire purchase, which is around $80,000, could probably come from either expenditure savings or revenue overages, with maybe a little bit from capital reserve. So we'll
Even
see,
better.
but I just wanted you to know that I don't have any reservations with paying it out of fiscal year '26 funds, however we fund it.
Do we know at this time what the subscription cost would be?
Subscription, you mean as far as we have like go ahead, you want to,
The licenses.
right, it's 5 years, right? I can go through them, stand by one. So 5-year security trailer cloud license, 5-year cellular gateway license, 5-year 4-camera multi-sensor camera license. So all of those are inclusive in this package. After 5 years, we'll probably have to revisit, and as you know, technology is going to change in 5 years anyway. But it's going to be good for at least 5 years. Is that?
Yes, so think about the Verkada project as a whole, when you all approved the contract this fiscal year. A portion of that was equipment, but then another portion of that were licenses. So they're 5-year licenses, just like this trailer. So when 5 years comes around, there is going to be a fairly, I want to say hefty, but amount that you've got to fund in the budget that year. It's
I was going to say, Commissioner Hanley, I don't think you were on the board when we approved that contract, right? So I asked a lot of those same questions when we went through this, and I have some emails back and forth between the chief and I think Emilio,
Yes.
maybe was his name,
Yes.
right? And so I'll send that to you. I think obviously they're trying to sell us something, so they're going to downplay how much the licensing might increase. But he gave us some models that I thought seemed reasonable, and I think regardless, this is a worthwhile investment. But I will, since this is your first go around with approving a Verkada contract, I had a lot of the exact same questions when we did this back last spring or in the summer, whenever it was. So I'll dig that out and forward all that to you.
Thanks, Jake. Yeah, because we did look at 3-year license, a 5-year license, and a 10-year license. Again, with the way technology changes, 10-year license is probably too long. 3-year license, we got better bang for our buck with a 5-year license, and that's typically what you see when, again, you do contracts. It's 2-year contract with a 3-year renewal, right? So 5 years made a little bit more sense, and the numbers supported that as well.
It's very similar to the body worn camera, right, Axon. Same thing, Axon, we did a 5-year contract. 10 years is way expensive, but who knows how that's gonna change in 5 years, so that's why we went 5 years.
Well, the technology has certainly changed from the LVT to the Verkada camera system. And let me just see if I have this right. It's $80,000 for 5 years. That includes the licenses and everything.
That's correct.
The cameras, all of it.
Yes.
Okay, and we're paying $35,000 a year to lease the LVT.
That's correct.
So over 5 years, it's like $16,000 a year versus $35,000 a year. So we're getting a better product for like less than half the price. So I think
Yes.
it is the way to go. I know going forward, you just never know what things are going to cost, and there's changes in technology.
Right.
It could get more expensive. It could stay about the same. Could be more competition in the marketplace. Who knows?
But when we go to renew, we're not paying for the equipment again.
Correct.
Right, so we're not paying $80,000 again, we're paying,
That's right.
right, yeah.
Correct.
And that's an important thing, so that $16,000 number will go down.
Unless there's a really new cool camera.
Well, true,
that,
that's
you know,
true,
in
that's
5 years
true.
in
If
technology,
the hardware
that's, you know.
accelerates, yeah, that's true.
But you may only be paying for the components.
And
as
just
opposed
quickly,
to the
Madam
whole
Chair, I
firmware,
wanted to say,
everything
Lisa,
that goes
will
with
we be going on year
power
3 of the
supplies and
LVT?
stuff like that.
Yes, next
We-
fiscal
right.
year would be year 3.
So we've already.
So we've already
we've
paid
already incurred the
$70,000.
approximately $70,000 in
Yep.
cost for just leasing.
Yep.
This one we'll own and be able to do what we want with it.
Yeah. And of the 80,000, if I remember right, 60,000, give or take, is the equipment itself.
Right, that is correct.
So,
Yes.
Right. So the LVT will be given up in July, turning it back in?
Yeah, that's correct. We won't renew that contract as of July 1.
Right,
correct.
so we'll be turning that equipment back in, and then hopefully we'll have the Verkada system by then. So
Yes,
we
sir.
won't have too much of a gap, if any.
Correct.
Right, that's why we wanted to do it
Right.
now.
But remember, we leased the LVT because they paid for everything. So we didn't have, if we had bought the LVT outright like was originally proposed, we would have had to pay for upgrades, pay for maintenance, pay for equipment. LVT, the reason we picked that model was they did all the upgrades for us with no charge. But the Verkada is the next step forward for us in terms of our CCTV surveillance.
Right, I just want to make sure we didn't.
No, no, for
We didn't
sure.
have both of them at the same time.
Right, no,
We're not,
exactly.
we're not
No, no.
leasing and buying at the same time, yeah.
Yeah, they'll-
Right,
they'll-
we got rid of the lease.
Right, we'll trade off.
Do you happen to know if the Verkada has a blue light on the top like the LVT?
It does not,
It does not, okay.
no.
I kind of like that. I kind of like that it does not, because then it's like, you know, quietly there for those who aren't looking
We can
for
add
it.
to it and add on there if you want. No, I'm just
We can ask, that might be the $45,000 option. We can ask for you, sure.
One more point, if I may, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, because I know you have the paperwork.
Yes.
But we're doing this through a sole source. Marty, again, procurement officer, has reviewed everything, has been working this pretty hard with Chuck and John Ganofsky, and feels that sole source meets procurement for this purchase, especially since we already have them with the cameras, so that was kind of phase 1. So just wanted you all to know what mechanism from a procurement standpoint we were utilizing.
All right, anything else on the cameras? Moving on to the commissioner liaison reports. I'll go first. The tree committee had a great day, Arbor Day, first day of the farmer's market. It was very well attended. There were lots of kids, lots of dogs, lots of people, lots of vendors, beautiful things there. Mother's Day's coming up, all sorts of things to pick from. And I do have the letter from the Arbor Day Foundation saying that they are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Tree City USA, and they are extending their warmest congratulations to Bel Air on receiving a 2025 Tree City USA recognition. So we love trees here. They're doing a great job, and they had a great time. We didn't actually have a meeting because it was Arbor Day instead, so that's where it was spent.
The Appearance and Beautification Committee met last night. My congratulations to the officers who were elected at their annual April meeting. Elaine Millard was reelected as chair, Peg Lucas as vice chair, Christine Sudbrink as treasurer, and we do have a new addition. After decades of dutiful service, Bonnie Bailey decided that she had had enough of taking notes and wanted to relinquish the reins for secretary, and so that has been undertaken by unanimous acclamation. She was so thrilled to take the position. One of our new members, Amanda Berry, who actually might be our newest appointee, I think she is, so she's diving headfirst. She's the new secretary. We have a great group over there at ABC. They do a fantastic job. I was not able to attend ECDC on Thursday. We had a lot going on Thursday, but you did hear a pretty substantial report about the discussion that was had from Director Robertson, and I will make sure to be there in May.
Cultural Arts Commission meets tomorrow, and I'm sitting here looking at the commissioner's calendar. I'm looking at my calendar. Bel Air Downtown Alliance, I have down the 21st to meet. No, I have that down as their meeting, but yet I look at the commissioner's calendar and it said the 14th. I thought we were always the third Tuesday. Okay, because I just sat here and I looked at the commissioner's calendar and I'm like, oh, snap. I know. That's why I'm going to you. I'm like, I'm so sorry. So I'm looking forward to that, most definitely. I have nothing to report from the Rockfield. I wasn't able to make that. My son was promoted that day. And so I went to Andrews Air Force Base that morning. So I'll have lots to tell you next time. I am so relieved about that. I just died.
Planning Commission, neither the Planning Commission or the Board of Appeals had a meeting between now and last time we met, so anyway, just wanted to say that the Kite Festival was a fun day. A lot of people, a lot of kites, a lot of tangled kites, helped untangle, but anyway, it was a good day with Commissioner Hanley, and we handed out and fixed how many kites? That was just, they were just coming. There was just a line waiting for them to be fixed, but anyway, it was fun.
My committees are meeting next week. I am working on wrapping up a letter on behalf of Committee for Seniors and Citizens in Need to the county executive and the county council, advocating for funding for county services that help our senior population in the town of Bel Air. So I'll send that over to you guys tomorrow, have you look over, and then I'll hopefully send it out tomorrow.
All right. We are moving on to the staffing update. Eddie, are you going to handle that in Mike's absence?
He did not leave me anything to report.
All right. And then review the expiration dates of anyone on our boards, committees and commissions. I don't know if there are any that we. All right, then we're good on that too. All right. And then for the the calendar, I know that Kristen has already made one correction to it. And congratulations on your son's promotion. You have to be there. We also have the MML meeting Thursday night of this week. Are all five of us are going, right? All right, that's great. 100% participation. There's nothing else that I noticed on the calendar that's out of sorts. I'm looking forward to the ribbon cutting for Burton's Grill next Monday, and we have a meeting on Monday as well, the 20th.
Does HPC have a meeting this month?
I haven't got the email yet, but I believe there is, because I
Okay.
spoke to somebody on William Street that is
Okay.
planning to go.
They haven't had a meeting in quite some time, so I was curious if anyone knew. They do not? Okay. There we go. Well, we can strike that.
And also for those who are. Yep. All right, any more calendar items? I'm going to point out the most important calendar item tomorrow is Income Tax Day. So if you haven't filed, run home and do it after this meeting. And then we have miscellaneous. Do we have anything under miscellaneous? All right, staff comments. We'll start with Eddie.
Nothing for me.
Liz? Nothing on me. Mr. Bear? Not yet? Maybe next week. All right.
More to come.
Day 2.
Day 2.
Yes.
All right, no comments yet. All right, I guess that's good. Waquar? Lisa?
No, but budget's coming, you know
Yes,
that.
I know it is. I brought my book.
Thanks for the reminder, Lisa.
Yes.
None of us knew. I do have just a few things. Thank you, Commissioner Chismar, for attending the Wonder Ribbon Cutting. We're thrilled to have them in town. I believe you were the
Yes.
commissioner there. Odd Bird had a very successful grand opening. Odd Bird Bookshop in Armory Marketplace, Suite 103, opened on Saturday with a line up to Armory Park of people waiting to get in. So the mayor and I waited together and went in and checked it out. So very happy for them on a successful grand opening. Upcoming this weekend, we do have Reb Records Record Store Day on Saturday. So Dave, there will be some additional activity on Main Street from Record Store Day, Saturday. Yep. That is an event that you have to be approved to be a part of. So we're very fortunate to have Reb Records here on Main Street. That event draws people from all over the region to Bel Air for the day. And additionally, as the mayor mentioned, we have the Burton's grand opening on Monday, the 20th, prior to our town hall meeting. So really a wonderful flurry of new businesses opening, and very happy to have them all in Bel Air.
All right. Mr. Klein, you're hiding back there. Do you have any comments? All right. And Dave? Nothing? All right. Commissioners' comments.
Well, I have a little bit of an Annapolis report. This session was a mixed bag, and I'm going to focus, of course, mostly on housing because that's what affects us the most. But there is one other bill that I want to bring to everyone's attention because it could affect us in a big way. The governor had a very mixed session with housing. His starter home bill that would have essentially abolished the minimum lot size failed. It didn't get anywhere. It stalled. There was very little support for it. One cautionary tale that I would tell, though, is because his other two passed, I expect that if the governor prevails this November, he will come back to Annapolis next session for the beginning of his second term if he is reelected, making this a priority item. Because there are no, and Alexander wept, for he had no empires left to conquer. This will be the last one left to conquer for his housing package. So I am deeply concerned about next year should the governor be reelected on that topic. The transit-oriented bill did pass. It passed in a more moderated version. There was language that was interposed by the House regarding giving special treatment to unionized shops on contracting out the work. The Senate objected to that. They thought that really didn't have a place in the bill, what they were trying to do at the 11th. It looked like the bill was going to fail because the House and the Senate couldn't agree. The House has certainly killed legislation before because they felt it wasn't progressive enough. In this instance, they deferred to the Senate, so that language was stripped out. The transit-oriented bill did pass. Doesn't really affect us, but it certainly affects our friends along Route 40 and across the state who are near a transit center. But the one that I really want to talk about, of course, is the Maryland Housing Certainty Act, which is the vesting bill as we know it. There were some substantial changes, and I choose that word specifically, changes to this legislation. The bottom line here, I'll say the top line here is the following. The approval, conditional approval, or denial of a housing development project application by a local regulatory authority or the commission shall be governed only by the duly adopted laws and regulations in effect at the time of the submission of a complete application. So they yanked out the word substantially in front of complete, which is good news because substantially complete application is, yes? Question? Okay. Which is good news because a substantially complete application is this vague, nebulous, what does substantially complete mean? This is kind of ridiculous. They at least pulled that back a little bit and said that in order that the retroactive vesting, and we're going to get to the vesting portion of this, but the retroactivity goes back to the time that a complete application was submitted. Okay, well, what does that mean? Within, and this is where Director Baer and his staff come in. Within 30 days after the receipt of a housing development project application, a local regulatory authority or the commission, which is not us in this case, this is the local regulatory authority making this determination, as to whether the application is a complete application. And it goes on to list some qualifications by which you would judge if it's complete. I'll certainly leave that to the department to review, as those are the things that you'll be implementing. If a local regulatory authority or the commission fails to notify an applicant of its determination regarding the completeness of a housing development application within 35 days, so you get an extra 5 days there, after receipt of the application is deemed to be a complete application for the purposes of this section. So you can't sit on it. You have to do it or else it goes in their favor. Next. And this is what I think is tricky, and this is, I think, Liz, you'll have to, because I was going back and forth on what this means. When you've got a phased project, the date of the first complete application submission for any process that may culminate in the completion of a housing development project is when that vesting language goes into effect. Right. So that's kind of a doozy. Now it goes on to say there are some carve-outs. This section may not be construed to limit the ability of a local regulatory authority or the commission to require approvals or permits for each phase of a housing development project subject to a phase development plan in accordance with the laws and regulations in effect at the time of the submission of that first complete application for that was submitted. So it's not like as soon as you get your first phase done, all the rest are good to go, that they're blessed, but it does mean that that vesting is retroactive to the first, and that's troublesome. And then there's a lot of language in here about impact fees and excise taxes that was worked out through MACO. This is where most of the amendments substantially changing the bill came through. MACO got a lot of wins on this section. I wish they had gotten more wins on the first section, but I don't have much commentary on this. This will just be the new course of business for when we're collecting impact fees and other fees that we collect. This will be the new law of the land, and I trust our folks to implement that adequately. But really, I wanted to bring everyone's attention that we are now in a brave new world when it comes to vesting in the state of Maryland. We've been pushed not just to where a lot of the rest of the country is, which is at planning commission approval or some analog. We're really at the front of the line here, where that once you get that planning commission approval, your vesting rights are retroactive to the submission of your application.
Did it say, how, did they change or say anything about for how long, or is it just?
5 years.
It's 5 years?
It's 5 years.
Okay.
Yes, 5 years.
Did it passed, but, so I guess it's sitting on the governor's desk,
Correct.
right? Okay.
And I imagine that it will be one of the first bills that he signs.
Oh, I'm sure it will.
Yeah. And
Okay.
it actually, there were bill signings today, so it may be signed if it was in that first round. If not, there's bill signings next week, and there's bill signings in May. It'll get signed, and then the implementation date. See if I can October 1.
October 1. Okay, so we're probably going to have to get together and see whether or not anything, because the problem is with like the 35 days, that sounds like something that would be in a policy. You want it in the code.
Right.
Because if it's in a policy, then people think it's not really binding. But that could be a huge problem.
It could.
Huge problem. Because if something's not complete and it goes forward, I mean, how do you unring the bell? Is traffic
You don't
study? Yeah,
unring the
exactly,
bell.
you can't.
Yeah.
So, okay. Thanks for that summary.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
And it does. There is some language in here. I don't know if I highlighted it or not. Something about how you can't ding them on what they call non-material deficiencies. So if there's or minor omissions. Now, what is a minor omission? I don't know. But
Yeah.
they're going so far as to say that we can't be nickeling and diming them on this. That if every I isn't dotted and every T isn't crossed, we still might have to deem it complete.
Yeah.
And that's the language. Again, Annapolis likes to write vaguely, so what is a minor omission? What is a non-material deficiency? I don't know. I don't even know if longtime planners know what those words mean in the normal course of business. I don't know if Director Bear has an opinion of what those words mean. So really, as we've often said, when the legislature writes laws, they write laws to achieve a vague goal, and they sort of let the courts and test cases at the local level where the rubber meets the road figure it out from there. And that's what I imagine will happen here.
Which is a terrible way to do business.
It is.
Certainty is a great thing for everyone.
Yeah.
People should know what the rules are so everybody knows where they stand. That's an awful piece of legislation.
Ironic coming from the Maryland Housing Certainty Act. Yes.
A lot of uncertainty in there.
And there are really only two bills because I didn't want to. I know we've got a long agenda tonight. There was only one other bill that I thought was really important for us to discuss, and that is the Voting Rights Act as it pertains to counties and municipal corporations. And it's a shame that, well, actually, it might be good for Mike's health that Mike isn't here. But this could have a major impact on the way that we run our elections. This applies the Voting Rights Act of 1965 to Maryland counties and municipalities. Notice it does not apply that same section to Maryland's state elections, so rules for thee but not for me. The state legislators don't have to worry about this. But we, as the tiny town of Bel Air, and certainly Great Big Harford County and Great Big Baltimore County and all the rest, they do have to worry about it. So what does that mean? This is the bread and butter of the bill. A method for electing the governing body of a county or municipal corporation, that's us, may not be imposed or applied in a manner that impairs the ability of members of a protected class to elect candidates of the member's choice or the member's ability to influence the outcome of an election as a result of the dilution or the abridgment of the rights of voters who are members of a protected class. It goes on to say that, well, how do you figure this out? The methodologies for estimating group voting behavior as approved in federal case law to enforce the Federal Voting Rights Act of 1965. So it incorporates all the case law that has been going on for the last 70 or 60 years through the federal court. I don't know if that includes Shelby v. Holder, because I'm sure they don't like Shelby v. Holder, and I'm certainly interested to see. This is really in response to what the Supreme Court is expected to do or not do this summer as in regards to the Voting Rights Act. There's an active case in regards to the way that the South draws its congressional districts. This is in response to that. How it's in response to it, I don't know, because it has nothing to do with Maryland's congressional districts. It just has to do with local elections, but I digress. It goes on to instruct the court about how they would find a finding of polarized voting, and I'll just run down some of those very briefly. The following may not preclude a finding of polarized voting that results in an unequal opportunity for a protected class to elect candidates of the member's choice. The election of candidates, so this is what may not preclude a finding. The election of candidates who are members of the protected class and who were elected before the filing of an action to enforce this title. So anyone who was elected before a lawsuit against a municipality doesn't count, doesn't matter. The non-quantitative or non-statistical evidence, so again, that sort of anecdotal evidence, or low voter turnout or voter registration rates among members of the protected class. In order to establish the existence of polarized voting, the court may not be required to use a set number or combination of elections or consider the causes of or reasons for polarized voting, including partisan explanations or discriminatory intent. We're safe there because we don't run partisan elections, so that's good for us. We're safer, and most municipalities are safer under that section because they're nonpartisan. Only 2 municipalities in the state are partisan, Frederick and Annapolis, and then of course the 24 jurisdictions, 23 counties in Baltimore City are all partisan. The fact, and this is what matters for us, this is what I underlined, the fact that members of a protected class are not geographically compact or concentrated, that's the town of Bel Air, may not preclude a finding of polarized voting or a violation of this section of the title, but it may be a factor that is considered in determining an appropriate remedy. So essentially, someone who didn't like the outcome of the town of Bel Air's elections could sue under this title and ask the court for remedy. Now, what those remedies are, surprise, surprise, very vague in what they lay out. There is some language in here about not allowing courts to force us to change our manner of election, so a court couldn't come in and say, you must adopt a ward or district style of election. I think that it's not strong language, but there is language in here to say that if we as the Board of Town Commissioners want to continue to be elected at large, we can continue to do that. But then the question of, okay, well, what remedy is there? Is it financial? Is it monetary? You know, those things. Is it forcing an election to be rerun? I mean, put your thinking cap on. That's what this is opening the door to. And this is one of those things that will be incredibly dormant and incredibly quiet until it's not. It's the type of thing that is just sort of always sitting on the shelf, waiting to be pulled off and dusted off and causing a great big headache for poor Mike Krantz. So I wanted to, and it's an emergency bill. So as soon as it is signed, it will go into effect. Now that obviously doesn't matter a great deal for us because our elections aren't until next November. But the poor town of Havre de Grace has its elections the first week of May. So presuming that the governor signs this tomorrow, next week, this section applies to the city of Havre de Grace, the week before their election is set to take place. So just another, and I should mention that this was passed 4 minutes to midnight on sine die over the objection of members of the minority party who were still standing to debate when a member of the majority party rose to call the previous question and shut off debate. The speaker then proceeded to not allow members to explain their vote, which in the rules they are allowed to explain their vote because they were just so close to midnight. So this is what our legislature spent the last 5 minutes ramming through at the 11th hour in the House of Delegates. So those are the two bills that I think will have the most day-to-day impact on the shop that we run around here and could have really consequential impact on the town. The first one in a very clear and very immediate sense. The second one in a we just hope to God it never gets triggered sense. But I wanted to bring those two up because I felt as though they were very important to the town.
I just wanted to say that the opening day of the farmer's market was really great, very well attended, lots of people there, lots of great stuff. There also was such a large line at the Odd Birds Bookshop. I was really surprised. Inside, it's beautiful to see what they have done with a bare bones space, nothing but empty walls and concrete is just absolutely amazing. And they told me how they did, some of the things that were in there. They've really done a really great job. It has a really nice book kind of feel, and I couldn't believe they actually had a bookstore bouncer standing at the door because they couldn't have too many people. Yep, there's a bookstore bouncer. As 2 people would come out, he let 2 more people in. There was a line there the entire morning. So, who knew that I knew we needed a bookstore that badly, but, who knew that it would be so popular? So I'm really thrilled for them. They got a great start. All right. Anything else from commissioners'
Bookstore
comment?
patrons are rowdy, huh? You need a bouncer.
There was a bouncer. It was a very, very well-behaved line, but he was counting people in and out, so it didn't get too crowded.
I know you were excited. You said, "I found my people."
I have found my people. The book people are my people. I'm a book person. And I did purchase a couple of books to join their friends at my house. I'm probably a fire hazard, but there's lots of books in my house. All right. Anything else from anybody? All right. In that case, it's time to start the fiscal year 2027 budget discussion. I feel like I'm in school because I have to get out my binder, turn to page, whatever.
Before we get into that, Eddie, I don't know if any department heads can be excused if they're not needed under closed. Dave, you can go. If you all want to turn to page 81, Jenny's here. She's going to kick us off for the Downtown Alliance. She'll be presenting her budget requests for both marketing and the Christmas parade. So page 81 is going to be the marketing letter, a copy of the marketing letter that she sent. '81.
Good evening, everyone.
Welcome, Jenny.
Thank you all for having me. I will try to keep this brief because I know you have a very big night of things to discuss. And most of you are familiar with what we do. In the folder, I will refrain from reading our mission and our vision statement unless I know Gavin and Kristen have not heard me present before. So if you'd like me to read that off, I'm happy to. But hopefully you all know who we are and what we do and the partnership that we have. We're the Main Street managers. The Bel Air Downtown Alliance is the Main Street managers to now 22 eateries, 34 shops and supply stores, 8 bars and breweries, bars/breweries, 166 service providers, 1 grocery store, 1 art gallery, 25 pieces of public art, and that's just in the downtown district. There's way more outside of downtown. Thank you, Angela. 1 business incubator space, 1 co-working space, 1 financial institution headquarters, and a partridge in a pear tree. We respectfully request a total of $27,000 in funding to support key areas of our operation that directly benefit the Bel Air community. First and foremost is a marketing and advertising support for $20,000. This funding directly supports the advertising and marketing portion of our budget, an essential investment in keeping our community informed, engaged, and connected. Through these efforts, we don't just share information, we actively drive participation, visibility, and local pride by promoting events and experiences that bring people downtown, elevating and supporting our small businesses, encouraging volunteerism and deeper community involvement, showcasing Bel Air's history, character, and charm, and strengthening a shared sense of place for residents and visitors alike. I'm also going to combine Christmas Parade to prevent you all from having to listen to me talk again later. So for the Christmas Parade, we are requesting $7,000 to help offset the rising costs of producing the Bel Air's Christmas Parade and tree lighting. While this amount represents just a portion of the total investment, it plays a vital role in preserving a beloved Hallmark-like tradition, one that creates lasting memories for families and brings our community together in a way very few events can. What the Bel Air Downtown Alliance is able to accomplish with a team that is small is pretty remarkable. We have 3 staff members, 11 board members, 43 committee members, hundreds of volunteers who genuinely care about this community, genuinely care about this community. While the town operates within important systems and structures, we're able to move differently, more nimbly, more creatively, and always with the community at the front and center. That difference matters. It's what allows us to activate downtown in ways that drive foot traffic, support local businesses, and create the kind of energy that keeps people coming back. Together, through a strong private-public partnership with the Town of Bel Air government, we're not just supporting Bel Air, we're helping shape it into a place people actively choose to spend their time and money. This funding isn't just support, it's leverage. It allows us to focus less on filling short-term funding gaps and more on pursuing larger, high-impact opportunities that bring measurable returns to the town, our businesses, and residents. Without this investment, more time is spent sustaining operations. With it, we can focus on growth. And that shift from maintaining to building is where the real impact happens. Thank you all so much for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I just wanted to thank you for everything you do for the town. The Christmas Parade is just a fabulous thing, and it is like Hallmark around here. Between Winter Wonderland and the Christmas Parade, I think people really love to come to town during that season.
Thank you.
Just so I have these numbers correct, it's 27,000 total, 20,000 for the Downtown Alliance
Marketing budget.
marketing, and 7,000 for the
Christmas
Christmas parade. Okay, got it.
Right. Anybody have any questions for Jenny? Well, thank you so much.
Thank you all so much.
You are well known to us, and so are your programs, so thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny.
She's so good at her job that she's mentoring Rock Hall and doing the same type of thing that she does. So, yep.
Donna, you want to come on up? So if you all want to turn to page 118, this is the letter from Winter Wonderland's budget request. And Donna's here to talk about that.
Thank you all. First, I would like to thank you for last year. I know I came in at the 11th hour requesting support and funding with Bel Air PD and the police department, Bel Air PD and DPW. So now at least we have one leg under us instead of no legs, and maybe almost a second leg on the floor. But again, I am just requesting basically what we requested last year, and that would be the $10,000 worth of in-kind services for DPW and Bel Air PD to support the Winter Wonderland event. I know we almost came to the top. I think we were $20 short of that max, but we would be prepared if we did go above that. We could support that. You know, we love the event. It's growing. We got a lot of great support last year. I'm in the process for the first time applying for the county grant, tourism grant, so we'll see if we get anything for that. The Dreschers also reached out to me personally and asked me to apply, so I did do the initial letter phase. I'll hear at the end of May if I can finalize the grant for them. So we are getting traction, and we've gotten support from other businesses that weren't reached out to, let's put it that way. It's not that they didn't support, but they weren't reached out to in the past. So we're hoping to continue those relationships and just make things stronger. So love your support again this year.
It is a wonderful event. I see people all over at the Christmas sleigh with Santa and at the coffee bar getting hot chocolate, and it is beautifully lit and just a wonderful experience. It really does look like a Hallmark Christmas card. We could be the location. You should try that out for one of those Hallmark movies they could come and
There
film
you
here.
go. You just never know.
It's perfect.
But if anybody has any questions, please.
No, it was so magical that my one son proposed to his now wife in Armory Park. So
That's fantastic.
Mhm.
We're growing more town residents. Anyone else?
All right. Anybody have any questions for Donna?
Love the Winter Wonderland. I'd like to see it keep growing. Have you guys started planning for next year yet, or?
Yeah, we did have our initial meeting with the
Awesome.
core group, just to go over, to get our budget in line, and do that. So, Gavin, we'd like to include you on future meetings, if possible, as our
Sure.
unofficial, official town representative.
You got it.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'll be reaching out for letters of support, too, for my grant. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Donna. All right, so we're going to start with just a quick budget introduction that we do each year. So if everybody can turn to the table of contents at the very beginning of the book. So the way the budget is broken down is really by department. The first 7 pages are what we call our 7-page budget. So when you hear me referring to that, you'll know what I'm talking about. It is the town administrator's budget. It was what was introduced last Monday. And then we have some supporting information which we're going to look at this evening. Then under general government, we have departments listed that are under general government. We have a benefits section, a miscellaneous, debt service, public safety, and then on the second page of the table of contents, you'll see police and public works, as well as the different committees, the 2 enterprise funds, and the special revenue fund. So looking at the supporting information, we're going to skip pages 1 through 7. Page 8 is going to give you the tentative budget schedule, so you know the date and the time is always going to be 4:30. But you know when the board meetings are, the public hearings, what's getting adopted, and then the budget work sessions. More importantly, though, pages 9 through 11 are going to let you all know who's presenting on what day. If you are not going to be able to attend one of the budget sessions, just let me know, and then we can always set up a separate meeting if you want to discuss anything further or go directly to the department head to talk about the budget. I have not, on page 11, you'll see that I listed all of the outside agencies. I have not received confirmation back from probably about half of them, so I'm going to send a follow-up email. But you'll see that on the agenda each time who's presenting. On page 12, this is what we consider our assessable base chart. Basically, it's just showing you all that if you were to raise a penny on the tax rate, so that means with real property, penny would be from 54 cents to 55 cents, and then from personal property taxes, which includes public utilities and business corps, it would be $1.20 to $1.21. It just shows you that one penny is equivalent to about $184,000. We just put this in every year, just something to glance at, because it has come up in past years. And
That's
it's-
always my question, if we, what is 1 cent on the tax rate?
Exactly.
Get us,
Yep. On page 13, we provide property tax revenue growth. So don't just think real property, think personal property as well. This is both added together. We added fiscal year 26 to 27 at the very bottom, so we'll drop a year at the top in order just to keep it one page. So from 26 to 27, the estimate right now is 3.5%. The two tax rate increases happened in fiscal year '04 and the latest one in fiscal year '22. We're going to come back to page 14 and go over our CIP. So if you want to turn to page 15, this is just a nice visual for the general fund revenues.
Lisa,
Oh, I'm
is
sorry.
page 14 supposed to be in between
Oh,
pages
you know
13
what?
and 15?
I'm sorry. I have it right here for you.
Okay.
Thank you for speaking up.
she was checking to see who was paying attention.
Well,
You
she said we were going to come back to. I'm like, does that mean that it's somewhere else, not between 13 and 15?
Good catch. That was not included in your original budget book because I had many tweaks to make to it and I ran out of time. There should be enough for Jane's book too. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so back to 15. Again, visually, this chart really shows you that property taxes at 54.6% is the lion's share of the revenue that we bring in the general fund, with the state shared taxes being a distant second at 17.8%. So it just shows you how important our property taxes are to being able to fund all the services that we have.
Do you have any idea the split between like residential and commercial?
I have not really looked lately. It used to be a 60-40 split.
With residential being the 60?
Correct.
That's what I think was the last calculation you did for
Mhm.
me. No need to do it again. I was
Okay.
just curious.
Sure. On page 16, we did the same thing, but with the expenditures. And as one might expect, public safety has the lion's share of the expenditures at 37.6%. Public Works, the 4 divisions in Public Works are second at 29.2%. And then the general government, which if you remember, it was kind of that long list on the table of contents with the rest of the departments of the town, is 25.2%. The note at the bottom is a very important one. So we look at what are our salaries and benefits as a percentage of the total general fund expenditure budget. We're at 67.7%, which is reasonable, it's healthy, it's not overly expenses within your salaries and benefits. You know, the experts will say once you get into the 73, 74, 75%, you really need to take another hard look because you're spending too much of your budget dollars on salaries and benefits. So, you know, your budget's just, it's too lopsided. We have been very cognizant of that, and I think we're still at a very good percentage, not one to be concerned with at all. So again, something very important to be included every year. All right, that takes care of, was there a question? The supporting documentation. After that, you all will see all your colorful tabs. Each tab is going to be a different department. Within that first tab, we always include, called a preparation worksheet. So it'll show you historically what the budget and actual have been since 2022. It'll show you where we are to date in 26, as well as in 2027, what the departments requested in one column, and then what the town administrator requested in the column to the right. So every department will have such a worksheet as this. Behind that, there will be a salaries worksheet. And then after that, there'll be justifications for every single account that is on that worksheet moving forward. And that's how this is structured going forward. So, anybody have any questions? Everybody have their books? 'Cause if not, I can go make some copies. You good? Okay. All right, so then we're going to go back to the very first page. Page 1. I'm sorry? There's no going back. All right, this page here is solely our general fund revenues. Ooh, sorry, guys. Fiscal year 26 budget is on the left, and then on the right is the estimated fiscal year 27 budget. You can see at the very top that they both have the same tax rates, 54 cents and $1.20. So I'll be focusing, of course, on the fiscal year 27 column. I'm not going to review every single line item. We'll be here forever. If I do, I'm going to hit the highlights. But of course, if you all have any questions, stop me at any time. So real property taxes, which is, again, the very first line, an important number, is budgeted at almost $9.5 million. The assessments that we've received to date in fiscal year 26 equate to about $8,000 more than what you see at the budget for FY 26. So we're pretty spot on for the 26 budget. Remember that this is the first year of the 3-year reassessment phase. And then the increase over fiscal year 26 is about $280,000, about 3%. We received from the Assessment Office, State Department of Assessments and Taxation, per the constant yield. That actually equated to $9,483,000. And then we made some adjustments to the budget, like we do each year. One adjustment is a $13,500 reduction because we give the Bel Air Volunteer Fire Company, the members there, tax credits. We also have an $1,800 reduction for historic district properties. And then I've tended to use this line item to balance the budget. So balancing the budget was another $22,000 increase. So that's where that lies. Moving on to public utilities at $578,000. Assessments received to date this fiscal year equate to about $562,000. So again, more than what the budget shows for 26. These come mainly from, I call them the big three. It's Maryland American Water, BGE, and Verizon. So comparing the assessments from FY 25 to 26, Maryland American's assessment increased 15.3%. Verizon's decreased 6.6%, and BGE increased 9.7%. So they're all over the board, which, makes budgeting a little bit difficult. But again, just looking at historical and where we are, the budget is projected at $578. The next line is called ordinary business corporations or incorporated. So these are going to be your restaurants, your retail. These are not, dollars in here are not going to be your doctor's offices, your lawyers, your accountants. These are more incorporated businesses. The budget was based on the fiscal year 25 actual and fiscal year 26 actual to date. as well as estimated for the remainder of the year, budgeted at $445,000. Income taxes is budgeted at $2,360,000. I always say this is probably the most difficult revenue to budget. The best estimate is to use historical revenues and add a range of 1.5% to 3%. We do receive a significant portion of the revenue at the end of May, June, and August. August is considered the previous fiscal year revenues just because it's factored with receipts prior to June 30th. We just don't get those from the state until August. Historically, the last 4 completed fiscal years, fiscal year 22 was just a hair over 2 million. Fiscal year 23 was 2,109,000. Fiscal year 24 was 2.3 million. And fiscal year 25 is looking, is 2,347,000. We are gonna be under budget in fiscal year 26. So that's why you see the reduction from 26 to 25, because 26, I think, is gonna be a little too high. Does that make sense? So just adjusting for that. Steve, good? Yeah, it's just really flattened. It's just really flattened out.
I mean, it is going up.
It is.
We just over budgeted for
Right.
it last year.
Exactly.
So even though it shows a decrease in the book,
Yes.
we're still budgeting more than what we received this year.
1.5%.
Right. We just
Yep.
received less this year than we budgeted for.
Correct. Well, let me back up. So fiscal year 24 is 2,316,000. Fiscal year 25, 2,347,000. So slight uptick. Fiscal year 26, I'm projecting it to be, again, it's tough because we don't get the large increases until May, June, and August, but we're looking at possibly 2,360,000. So and that's what I budgeted in 27. Again, really difficult. We're
Got it.
just, I over budgeted in 26.
Better to be low.
Better to be low. I
and
always
stay
say
stay
that.
within our means then, and then we have some extra.
Yes,
Right.
yes. But again, no cause for alarm at the possible over budget in 26. There are plenty of other categories to compensate for that. So, highway user revenues budgeted at $783,575. This number comes right from State Highway. So we receive a letter in September and we receive a letter in December. December's letter was lower than September's letter. September's estimate was 822,000. December's letter was 783. Yeah. So revenues are appropriated on the basis of proportionate road mileage and motor vehicle registrations. Because of the reduction in funding in fiscal year 27, we did remove a street construction project on Wilson Street. However, in talking this through with Charlie Dawson, because Steve was on leave, this street was already included in the street resurfacing bid for this fiscal year, so no harm done. No harm done. That street is just going to get done actually a year earlier, so it turned out well. The police protection grant is fairly flat. We do not receive an estimate from the state. The 264,608 is exactly what's being what we believe the revised estimate is for fiscal year 26. So we just kept it flat. It is based on 3 components. It's a flat dollar amount per full-time sworn police officer based on the preceding fiscal year, a supplemental amount based on population, and then the main amount is based on police expenditures for the preceding estimated fiscal year. Moving on to public works fees, you'll see a reduction in that account. That's because during fiscal year '26, Harford County's Department of Inspections, Licenses, and Permits, or DILP, decided that the municipalities would no longer collect the county's inspection fees for performing plan review and inspections for municipal building permits. Rather, the taxpayer would pay the county directly. Therefore, our revenue now is budgeted solely for the town charges. So it's only what we bring in, what our fee schedule allows us to charge. We used to be a pass-through with the county. We'd collect the county and then we would remit the county. So it's a reduction in revenue, but it's also, there's no expense as well. So, correct. Cable TV franchise is a reduction. It just continues to decline every year. Just to give you an idea, fiscal year 17 was $165,000. That was the highest we've ever been, and it's just slowly eroding year after year. Again, this is a 3% cable TV franchise fee we have with Verizon as well as Comcast. The Governor's Office Crime Control and Prevention is budgeted at $32,000. We applied for 2 grants through them, the Police Accountability and Transparency Act grant, or PACT, which has funded a temporary part-time records information coordinator salary to perform the body-worn camera audits. If funding is not received, then that temporary position will be eliminated. And then we applied for the Explorer grant, which has funded officer overtime worked for the Explorer program, as well as armory rentals for the Explorer bingo and the camp. The Harford County tax rebate at almost $1.4 million. This is probably the largest increase that I can remember in quite some time. But this is based on a detailed Harford County formula. It's an amount given to all 3 municipalities that basically the county recognizes that we provide police patrol services within our town boundaries. And this formula is used to determine what gets paid to each of the 3 municipalities. The stormwater management, Harford County at $140,000. There's a MOU that's dated in April of 2020 with Harford County along with Aberdeen and Havre de Grace to provide annual distribution towards the cost of stormwater remediation obligations. The calculation is based on Harford County's recordation tax revenue. Generally, it should match the budget for the MS4 stormwater management program in DPW. However, the town is utilizing $48,000 of this to pay for 67% of the environmental engineering tech salary, which was actually a recommendation or suggestion that came out of our budget listening session several years ago. The increase is based on FY '25 at $140,000, as well as the county's initial estimated payment in FY '26 of $173,000. We do have
Lisa?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you had more, I just want to know, what's the grant above stormwater management? The whole punch went right through it.
Traffic.
Traffic grants. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Each year, the difference between revenues and expenditures at the end of the year are rolled to the Stormwater Management Reserve Fund. So the balance is currently at $465,000. And the reason why we set up the reserve fund is so far in the years that we've had the MOU with the county, we've not expended everything that they've given us. But there is going to come a time where, and this year is one of those times in FY '27, where we have a design project and we won't receive enough money in that fiscal year to pay for that. So we'll utilize some of the reserve fund. So it is important to continue with that, and it's paying off. Bel Air Armory fees is next at $150,000. It's based on history. FY25 revenue is $140,000, and the FY26 revised projection is almost $150,000 as well. So Julia does a tremendous job with the Armory, finding new sources for tenants when we have some loss. So really a tremendous job by Julia. The red light camera is the next one at $661,550. This budget's based on tickets paid through March. The projected revenue is $706,500. That is for fiscal year 26. So we're looking at bringing in $706,000, not $637,500. But for FY27, I budgeted conservatively because I'm starting to see a decline in the revenue that started in FY25. FY25 was $757,000. FY26, 706. The budget before you at 661 is still an average of $55,000 a month in revenue, or a total of 8,800 red light tickets, which kind of boggles your mind a bit, right? It's just for intersections.
Does any of that get passed through to the state, or do we pay a fee for that?
No, the full
Okay.
$75 that we collect per ticket is ours to keep. We cannot charge any late fees on those tickets. That's part of state law. Nor can we charge our normal flagging fee that once generally with like our parking tickets, once the ticket is 60 days old, we flag your tag, because it's really the only thing that we have available to us to make sure you pay your tickets. The law does not allow us to do that with the red light camera ticket. So it's solely the ticket, but that's 100% ours.
It's very piecemeal in terms of who can do what across the state. It's a patchwork of different regulations that are all done through local bills. Like just this past session, there was a big kerfuffle about the town of Rising Sun and stop signage at their one major intersection. That there was a local bill that got jammed up a little bit. So to Lisa's point, what one municipality can do with its red light tickets is going to be different from what another municipality can do, and it really depends on the sections and carve-outs in the code that exist for that municipal corporation.
I thought a portion of that went to the company that manages the red light
Well,
thing
there are
and mails out
expenses.
there are expenses.
There's expenses,
Okay.
but
Right.
we get to keep 100% of that $75. The state doesn't get anything.
The state
We
does,
get
right.
100% of that.
But then we got to pay the
But
company
yes,
that does
we have to pay
manages,
the
yeah.
third-party
Right.
provider, which is a separate budget department.
Right, gotcha.
Yes, correct. Thanks, Steve. Sorry, the way my head thinks is a separate revenue coming in is one bucket, expense going out is another bucket. So, thank you for the clarification. Miscellaneous income, I only bring this up because of the drop between 26 and 27, and that's solely due to in 26 we included a $30,000 reimbursement from Bel Air Parks and Rec to pay for 50% of the roof replacement to the building on Pennsylvania Avenue. That project has not come before you yet. I think Public Works is still working through costs on that, but that's the reason for the difference between the two columns. Interest on investments, a very interesting one for this year, because like myself, I'm sure you all have heard, well, you know, rates are gonna get cut. No, they're not. Yes, they are. Now we're hearing rates may rise. So it's all over the board. Our current local government investment pool rate is 3.68%. That's compared to 4.22 a year ago, which is compared to 5.36 2 years ago. So not horrendous, but a definite decrease because of the Fed cutting rates.
And we invest very conservatively.
Yes.
Yes, the portfolio is incredibly conservative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. The majority of our money is in the local government investment pool. It's a state program. PNC has that bid with the state, so they are the bank. They don't charge any fees, so I can transfer money in and out all day long without incurring a cost. But you get the most bang for your buck with them, and it's highly liquid. So money market is very safe. I would be surprised if there wasn't every municipality and county in the state that had their money invested there. We do branch out and invest in CDs with our local banks. I've had many mature this fiscal year, and it's been a challenge with trying to make a decision on whether to reinvest that CD or let it mature and invest it in the pool. You just
Those, of course, are even more conservative.
yes.
Yeah.
Just not knowing where rates are going to be. So right now, the CDs that we have are invested for 12 to 18 months. When rates were higher, that the upper end of the term was 24 months. And our investment policy actually allows us to invest in CDs up to 5 years, 5-year term. That's a little long for me. But our rates range from 3.6 to 3.7%. So still good. Still very comparable to the pool, LGIP that is. Again, always trying to position the town's investments through CDs to earn a higher interest rate through fiscal year 27 and 28. Tried to budget conservatively using maybe an average of a 25% rate reduction and rates remaining constant. Just somewhere a combination of the two, which is how I came up with 661, 550. And that's, again, remember that, sorry about that, I went to red light cameras, the 465. The 420 in fiscal year 26 is low. That number is going to be quite a bit higher. So while you see an increase once we finish out fiscal year 26, you will see a decrease between those two numbers, which you would expect.
And I could probably spend a couple minutes trying to backwards engineer the interest and the rate that you just gave me and the number, but why don't we just cut to the chase?
Mm-hmm.
About how big is our portfolio?
I don't have that number with me, Jake.
Okay. I was gonna say, I could sit here and divide, 420 by the rate that you just gave me, but, yeah.
I'll get you that number.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Alliance contribution, so almost more towards the bottom of the page. The budget's $9,850. Per the MOU that we have with the Alliance, they will reimburse the town for personnel time working events equal to 30% during calendar year 26, calendar year now, and 50% during calendar year 2027. Events, again, First Fridays, the Bel Air Markets, and Barbecue Bash. So that 9850 is a combination of those two percentages since our fiscal year splits their 2 calendar years. Rockfield Foundation contribution is budgeted at $36,855. We also have an MOU with Rockfield, and they reimburse the town 100% less a $300 credit for personnel time working events. This is mainly the wine festival. So that of that budget, $10,900 is estimated for the wine festival. We also have almost $26,000 budgeted here for a 50% share in 2 capital projects at the Manor House, the parking lot lights, as well as replacing the handicap walkway to the Manor House. Going kind of below the line of total operating revenues to our transfer numbers. Transfer from capital reserve is budgeted $909,000. In-town buildings, we have $175,000 put back in the budget from several years ago for the Ma and Pa Comfort Station contribution. Within the technology budget, $134,000. There are various action items from the Pennsylvania Avenue fire that were requested by the town administrator. Under the police department, there are 3 replacement vehicles that total $150,000. Public Works Streets, 1 replacement vehicle at $150,000. Refuge, replacement vehicle of $300,000. So all of those total to that $909,073. The transfer from leave payout reserve of $65,659 is the projected leave payout for a long-term employee. Transfer from stormwater management reserve is $275,000. This $275 is what I spoke about earlier. Steve has in the Public Works budget a design to a stream restoration project that's adjacent to the English Country Manor condominium. That'll enable the town to seek a future grant from the state to fund the construction of that project. So of that $465 that I mentioned was in that reserve, we're looking at utilizing $275,000 of that. And that's what I mentioned earlier, that's working for us. The 2 transfer accounts from sewer and parking reimburse the general fund for employee salaries, benefits, and overhead costs that are attributable to operating those 2 funds. And we'll look at those in more detail when we get to the parking and the sewer fund.
Now, the transfer to the seized property reserves is in parens, so that's a negative, correct?
Yes.
Why are the other transfer to items not?
So if you look up to underneath an interest on investments, there's a line called seized property.
Uh-huh.
So we're looking at bringing in $3,000,
Uh-huh.
but then the seized property reserve is, we're moving it out of the reserve to the special revenue fund when that money becomes ours.
Okay.
So this is just a placeholder. So when the police department seizes money, it doesn't become ours right away. There's
Right.
a waiting period that you
Right.
have to go through. So it just sits in the general fund, seized property reserve, until it's ready to move forward to the special revenue fund, which is where Chuck has multiple accounts that allows him to utilize that seized property. And there's no worry with somebody coming back and claiming
Right.
it.
And I understand that. I understand why that is in parens. I understand why that line item is. My question is why the transfer to leave payout reserve and transfer to stormwater management reserve are not, why they show as a positive value.
Because we're utilizing that revenue. We are removing that from that account. We're using it as a part of revenue. Where that 2,000 and that 3,000, it's,
So even though it says transfer to leave payout reserve?
oh, see that's my bad.
It should
Jane,
be a
it
from?
transfer from.
There we
Yep,
go. All right.
Yep, from, and the other ones too.
Got it.
Mm-hmm, good question. Any questions on any other revenue? Oh, sorry, guys. Leave payout reserve is a from. Stormwater management reserve is a from.
It was the parentheses that tripped me off. I'm like, if
I
that
gotcha.
should be a from, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because we're taking money from those accounts to utilize it to pay for expenditures. Yes, correct. Yep, great catch. Anybody else have any other questions on revenues? Okay. All right, moving on then to that missing page 14 that you all have now. Our capital improvement program, again, 5 years, fiscal year 26 to fiscal year 30. We're gonna focus on FY 27. I'm just gonna give you just a brief explanation for the dollars that you see in the FY 27 column. But when you get to the individual departments do their presentation, they'll provide more details for you all. So the first one is ADM 01. It's IT capital projects at $204,673. So this includes laptop replacements, tough book replacements, as well as those action items that I mentioned earlier. So we have a project to trench fiber optic to Town Hall for the H-Man redundancy. The tentative route would be Hickory Avenue and Leeway to South Shamrock Road to US 22. We also have a redundant secondary fiber optic connection for the Armory and DPW at $13,000. We have a server replacement. It would be a redundant file server for the rack at the Department of Emergency Services at $15,000, and a domain controller server, which again is another redundancy for the Department of Emergency Services. Next is the $10,000 PLN 02 Rockfield Park Development. There's $10,000 in the planning department's budget for additional disc golf holes to expand the existing course from 9 to 18 holes. That's become a very popular course from what I understand, and we have support to expand the existing course. PLN 15 is the JCI
Sorry,
Energy
Lisa, can we look at 6?
6?
Yes, 6. It's Burns Alley Connections.
Yep.
540 for FY 28.
Mhm.
Is that a placeholder, or is that something that we're planning on doing? I just don't recognize that.
Yep, I don't have any of the, I lied, yes I do.
I know.
It's a
That's just sort
project-
of what I'm asking is, okay.
It-
It's just a placeholder that I see. All right, I'm on the same page now.
I mean, it's a project that we have, but we're looking at funding it in FY 28.
Right.
Again, Burns Alley is something that, remember, we had it in the budget, we removed it from the budget.
Oh, I remember. That's
and
why I'm
we-
asking.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we need to come back and have that conversation
Uh-huh.
as to what we want to do at that location. So for now, yes, it's a placeholder that came from the planning department, not knowing exactly what we're going to do.
Okay.
So we put it in FY 28 because there was nothing, enough discussions to put it in the 27 budget.
Certainly. Yeah. Okay.
All right, PLN 15 is that JCI Energy contract. It's the money that we borrowed that will mature in fiscal year 32. The $75,927 that you see is principal and interest payments to fund the loan. PD 00 is budgeted $150,000. The police department has requested 3 replacement vehicles. PD 02, which is the body cameras. Dave actually alluded to that earlier. So this is our body cameras and taser program. We're in the middle of renewing the contract for 5 years with Axon, and the budget is almost $75,000. The next line down, PD 03 is the Verkada system. And FY '27, the police department has requested, it's called Command Connect. It's a Verkada cloud-based platform that enables integration of non-Verkada legacy camera systems, such as our Bosch surveillance cameras. So again, another important piece of the Verkada system. PWG 00 is the Public Works vehicles and equipment at $460,000. Public Works is, has a $150,000 replacement mini dump truck, as well as a $300,000 replacement refuge truck, and a $10,000 parts cabinet for the shop. PWG 01 is the renovation and expansion of the police department town hall. That again is principal and interest payments with a maturity of to fiscal year 51. A long time. PWG 02 is the Mon Pa Comfort Station. That's in the town buildings budget. $175,000 is our estimated contribution. We don't know how much that project is going to cost. Again, that's something that the county is working on. We're just contributing towards that project. PWG 04 is town building, property, capital, and maintenance. So everything but Rockfield and Armory is in this line item at $24,000. We've budgeted to replace the shop bay door number 5 and purchase a walk-behind floor scrubber. PWG 05 is the MS4 stormwater management program. So this $405,000 is the $275,000 that I mentioned earlier with the design of that stream restoration project, as well as $82,000 for, again, other stormwater management program that we have each year. It's kind of a reoccurring cost. PWG 06 is Rockfield Manor Building capital and maintenance. That $51,910, again, are those two projects I mentioned earlier with the replacement of the handicap walkway to the manor house, as well as installing the parking lot lights. This is 100% of the cost, that 50% that I mentioned before that Rockfield would contribute. PWG 07 is the Armory building and the Armory Marketplace capital and maintenance. The main event floor in the Armory needs to be refinished at a cost of $30,000, and then the Marketplace needs new commercial grade toilets installed in the restrooms. Moving down to PWP 04, this is the parking fund, and this is also the JCI lighting upgrade project. It was just in the parking garage. Again, we borrowed money, and the debt service is $6,156. This is interest only payments.
Why did we borrow money for a price tag that small?
We borrowed it together.
Oh,
So
okay, gotcha.
when you go up to PLN 15, it was $936,000 for the general fund, and it was $72,000
Got
for the
it.
parking
All right.
fund. So it was one loan.
I'm with you now.
Yep, we just
All right.
split it. The parking garage sweeper has fiscal year 27 will be the final payment. Again, this was also coupled, Jake, with general fund vehicles and equipment, so it wasn't by itself. Same with the next one, PWP 09, 3,200.
We're just paying portion of it out of the parking fund.
Yes.
Yeah,
The-
that makes
the-
perfect sense.
The portion that belongs to the parking fund, so this parking garage sweeper, the enforcement vehicle, all parking related. PWS 07, so now we're in the sewer fund. $80,000 is budgeted for a replacement van. And the last one is PWS 12. Again, debt service for inflow and infiltration work, but FY '27 will be the final payment of that loan. Any questions?
I missed what you said the $80,000 was for some kind of a vehicle for Public Works.
Sure, the $80,000 is in the sewer fund.
Mhm.
It's to replace our existing sewer van.
Sewer van, okay.
Yes, ma'am. The existing sewer van is a 2014.
It's important that we have a sewer van. Gotta have one.
Any other questions?
The Verkada system, the trailer we had talked about earlier was around 80 something,
Mhm.
and we're budgeted 50 for this year.
So that 80,000 is gonna show up in FY '26
Oh, okay.
in that $245,612. That's where that $80,000 is located, along with the $165,000 that was the contract that we signed earlier this fiscal year.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay. All right. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Angela. Just waiting for more. Waiting for more.
Thank you, Lisa.
So we're in economic development, page 73.
Yes, so the
73.
73 is the worksheet, I believe. Yeah. So I'm actually going to have us skip ahead a little bit. So of our departments, 8 operating accounts, we're proposing 3 accounts to be flat funded, decreases in 2 accounts, and nominal increases in our remaining 3. The first 11 accounts listed in your budget book on page 77 are related to salary and benefits, and they'll be presented by the finance director and administration department. So we're going to jump ahead of salary and benefits to our budget justification pages, which begin toward the bottom of page 78, where I'll review accounts that are either significant in our budget or reflect an increase or a decrease. If you do, however, have any questions about accounts that I don't mention, I'd be happy to answer those. We did make efforts in our department to make decreases where feasible. The net total of our budget accounts represents a $2,324 increase for our department, excluding funding requested by the Bel Air Downtown Alliance, which does fall into the economic development budget. So the first, about halfway down, page 78, the first account that I'll cover is 14360201, which is travel, training, and memberships. This is one of our larger accounts, so I'd like to review it with you, though we are requesting a decrease of $550 in funding for FY27. This account is used for 4 of our economic development staff members for expenses related to trade shows, conferences, meetings, and seminars. Also includes items such as travel during the legislative session for economic development, tourism, and arts days in Annapolis, and our membership in professional organizations. In FY27, this funding will cover memberships to multiple professional organizations, including the Maryland Economic Development Association, the Grants Professionals Association, as the town grant writer falls within the Economic Development Department, and the International Economic Development Association, all of whom provide training opportunities for our staff. This funding will also cover the cost of our grant writer, whose work benefits all towns departments to virtually attend a Grants Professional Association conference, and for our staff to attend the annual conference, as well as training opportunities held by the Maryland Economic Development Association. This funding is also used for our team to staff the Bel Air booth at the Maryland Municipal League Conference. We take advantage of a combination of online training and in-person training to try to minimize our expenses where possible. In an ever-changing economic landscape, maintaining this account is critical for economic development and for our staff and the town of Bel Air. The amount requested for this account is decreased to $12,400 from last year, as we have budgeted to attend the grant writing conference virtually rather than in person, as was budgeted in FY26. And I have also decided to alternate attendance between the IEDC conference and the Main Street America conference annually, and so thus I'm removing the IEDC conference from the budget for FY27, as that will be the off year for that conference for me. So next year you can anticipate seeing that back in the budget. Any questions regarding this account? Moving on to account 14360303. That is about halfway down page 79. This program is used to support the Bel Air Annual Awards event and includes expenses related to invitations, programs, awards, photography, and catering. We've continued to see an increase in the cost from catering and have also shifted our photography costs from our general marketing account into this account at the request of the Director of Finance. We pay for a lot of photography services throughout the year, and we had always just put that in our general marketing account as photography, but Lisa requested that we do move it into the annual awards account since it is specific to that event. As a result, our event expenses exceeded our budget in FY26 by $828.26. Therefore, in FY27, we're requesting $7,500 in this account, which reflects a $1,000 increase. Any questions on that one? Okay. The next account is toward the bottom of page 79, 14360315, Marketing and Public Relations. This is our department's largest account and is essential for us to help promote the town, its events, its businesses, and services. This account is used across many initiatives, including trade shows, print and digital marketing, video production, photography services, brochures, branded items that we use at our trade booth, visitor center literature, and sponsorships, and the cost to host the MML booth. Our department relies on this account for marketing for shopping and dining campaigns to support our business community, for promoting our business incubator facility, Armory Marketplace, for promoting the Bel Air Arts and Entertainment District, and it also has allowed us to enhance our website features for prospective business owners and those looking for more information about businesses in the town of Bel Air. In the fall of 2025, we upgraded our available space inventory service to a subscription service that we use to help entrepreneurs looking for space in Bel Air. This service has provided a more accurate picture of properties that are available and has been a real asset to our staff, while also minimizing the actual time spent by staff to find and list those properties. We used to have to solicit the commercial real estate agents for those listings each month, and now that information is essentially scraped from the internet and uploaded directly by the company we've contracted with through that subscription service. So it's really been much more seamless for our staff. To ensure that positive messaging for Bel Air is at the forefront of what we do and that our department has the resources we need to successfully market the town, we requested, the requested amount for FY27 is $39,500. Our requested amount reflects an increase of $1,500 due to the addition of the annual subscription services related to our annual, our available space inventory. If approved, this would put us back to our FY25 budget amount for this account. We do pay greater than, it's just over $3,000 a year that we pay for the available space contract, but I've been able to work the budget so it's just a $1,500 increase and back to our FY25 budgeted amount. Any questions for this increase? No? Okay. The next category outlined on page 80 is Main Street marketing. This account is what falls under the Bel Air Downtown Alliance, and Jenny addressed this earlier in her presentation this evening. I would just like to reiterate that the work that the Bel Air Downtown Alliance does is instrumental in the success of our thriving downtown corridor. We're fortunate in Bel Air to work side by side with the Downtown Alliance on many projects and to have a Main Street program that has such a positive effect on our downtown. Not all municipalities with a Main Street district are as fortunate as we are to have such a valuable partnership. So while that money really flows through my budget, it goes directly to the Downtown Alliance and is really valuable for what we do in the town of Bel Air.
If I could jump in there, Lisa, do
Sure.
we have in this binder already the year-over-year contribution worksheet over there? Okay. I'm just one step ahead today. Excellent. All right, well, we'll come back to that. Yep, absolutely. We'll come back to that.
Angela,
Sorry, yes.
with that, what happened in '23? Because their budget went up to 20,000, and prior
I'm
to
sorry,
that.
can you, what happened
What
in
happened
23?
in FY '23, yeah, FY '23, where their budget was 20,000, in '22 it was 13,500, and then it went up,
Okay.
and then when it was 15,000 in '24, and then kept going. Just curious, what happened in '23? Why
gonna-
the big bump?
Yep, I'm gonna take that. We, staff decided to provide the fire company, the rec committee, and the alliance with a slight bump using ARPA money, with the
Okay.
understanding that it would come back down to normal level.
Okay, no, I'm just,
Yep.
because that's about, what you budgeted there, the 18,500 is kind of 1,500 seems like increase every year since then, except for that 20,000
Yep,
bump. Yeah.
that's why you'll see that in all
Okay.
three of those committees. It was just a one-time funding using some of our ARPA money,
Got it.
just a way to give back a little bit to those committees.
Okay.
Moving on just below that to recording secretaries, which is 14360350. This account is used for both the Cultural Arts Commission and the ECDC recording secretaries. The requested budget amount for this account represents 77 hours of total work at their $22 an hour rate to both attend the meetings and then transcribe the minutes following each of the 17 scheduled meetings for those commissions throughout the year. The requested budget amount has increased by $374 and is $1,694. Just below that actually two down from that in supplies, 14360500. As outlined on page 80, this account is used to cover the expense of all department supplies, including general office supplies, stationery, business cards, coffee, refreshments for committee meetings, and other miscellaneous expenses to support our administrative operations. And this requested budget amount has been decreased and is now $2,350. It's a $200 decrease.
I just noticed that it's $22 an hour currently, and it's going to how much an hour?
Is there an increase in that? There
It's
is
the
no
same- okay.
increase. It's just an increase in the number of hours
Hours,
used
okay.
based on the historical data that we
Okay.
pulled from how much time it's taking our current recording secretaries to
To do the
both
work.
attend and
Yeah.
transcribe those meetings.
Thank you. I was a
So,
little
slight
confused there.
increase. We did also, if you recall, increase the number of times per year that ECDC is meeting.
Right.
They had been meeting less frequently than what the code prescribes for them, so we're back to our schedule with meeting 8 times throughout the year, excluding October for the annual awards, July and August for a summer break, and December for a holiday gathering.
I say this not at all to rock the boat or suggest that we should cut this item, but I did want to give a shout out to Appearance and Beautification, for whom this line item is a big fat goose egg because they take their own minutes and they are just extra frugal like that. I only
Wow.
bring this up because that did come up last night when we were discussing the election of the new secretary, that they are the one committee that is holding out, I think, for the more traditional, old-fashioned way of doing things, which is that, you just elect a secretary and it's free labor. But we appreciate our ABC ladies very much. I thought I'd throw that in there.
We also greatly appreciate our recording secretaries. I would not want to put that on staff. It's hard enough to attend and contribute to the meetings while also taking notes and then transcribing.
And certainly when
So-
you're dealing with things that are related to reviewing legislation, there are more technical things that need to be captured, and ABC is just the type of committee that can continue to do it the old-fashioned way, whereas folks that are regularly reviewing bits of statute might want some professional help with keeping those minutes. So I say that in good fun.
Moving on to 1436-0511 furniture. This is not typically a category that we have in the economic development budget. However, we do have a staff member who needs a new desk chair. So we have budgeted appropriately for that. There was no funding budgeted for our department in this category for FY26, so this is a new category for us. I did want to just go back to I've been, following along with the justification pages, but back to the worksheet page where you can see year over year. I did want to point out that both for travel, training, and membership, and also for marketing, many of our expenses come at the end of the year. So we have our META conference in just a few weeks that 3 staff members attend. We also have the MML booth at the very end of the fiscal year. That always makes Elise crazy to get all those expenses related to MML in before the end of the year. So you'll see that we have not, for being as far along in the year as we have not used that the proportional amount of money from the budget, but that is the reason why. Same with our marketing account. We're gearing up with good weather, event season. There's a lot more advertising that goes on, photography that takes place in January and February. So there are a lot of those expenses that are loaded towards the end of the year. So if you are looking at the FY26, what was approved and what's been used so far, that's the justification for that. So that's the review of all the accounts. Are there any questions either for accounts that I've covered or any of the ones that I did not cover that don't reflect a change that you have questions on for me? No? Okay. Thank you. Moving on, I was thinking, gee, I'm wrapping up, but cultural arts is next. So I'll just keep right on going. The next set of accounts will be for the Cultural Arts Commission, and the justifications can be found on pages 204 and 205 of your budget book. So I'll give you a minute to get there myself. Everybody set? Good? Okay. With a prudent use of funding, the Cultural Arts Commission has been able to expand their reach and their programming offerings for our citizens with a flat funded request of $8,350 for more than 15 years. It has been a long time since we have requested any additional funds, and I do feel like we've been able to really do a lot with those funds. This year, the funding you'll see has been consolidated into one account from 2. Since FY20, the Cultural Arts Commission budget has been separated into marketing and public art accounts. We've requested that the funding be put back into one account for ease of use by the Cultural Arts Commission. We found that separating them made it more difficult to plan for public art projects that may be upcoming, as often the amount in our account could not accommodate expenses related to a commissioned piece of public art. The Cultural Arts Commission offers a visual and performing arts sponsorship program to local arts nonprofits, and we can't always anticipate the number of requests that we get throughout the year. So consolidating the accounts will provide more flexibility for them to sponsor programming for residents and to make repairs or additions to Bel Air's public art landscape. The account that you can, the justification that you can find on page 205 will cover the following expenses anticipated in FY27. The account is used for both, as I mentioned, planning and marketing events that are held by the Cultural Arts Commission. There is actually one going on right now. Kat is at the Armory for the Urban Line Dancing event. So that had about 70 people registered as of last week's count. So that is a successful event, second year that we're doing that. It also would relate to the Performing Arts and Visual Arts Sponsorship Program usually helps to fund a portion of Armory rental costs for events. Examples of that type of event from this year include Take a Chance on Art that was just held in March by the Hartford Artists Association. We covered a portion of their Armory rental fee. The Nutcracker by Ballet Chesapeake in December, and the Hartford County Education Foundation's Celebration of Arts Brushstrokes and Bright Futures Arts Show, which was just 2 days ago at the Armory. This account is also used to pay for any costs associated with events that the Cultural Arts Commission plans themselves. Marketing materials and brochures related to their arts event are also funded through this account. With its current consolidation, this is also used for public art projects commissioned by the Cultural Arts Commission, as well as projects that are done through their public arts sponsorship program for local businesses who wish to add public art to their property. Examples of sponsorships that have been funded through this account include the American Legion for the Alfred B. Hilton mural, Willow and Waves mural for the Secret Garden mural that's located there, and Rockfield Foundation for the Spread Your Wings and Fly mural. In FY27, this account will also be used to continue the maintenance for the Hearts of Hartford. We actually just had the heart in front of the Armory was peeling pretty significantly and was just repaired this past weekend using funds from this public art maintenance fund. This initiative was started just this year to repair the hearts. They've been in place for about 13 years. The first ones went up in 2013. It has been that long. And so this year in FY26, 3 to 4 hearts are expected to be maintained, brought up to speed, and then again, we'll start with the next round of them in FY27. So the amount requested for this account is flat funded at $8,350. Cultural Arts really does do a lot with the funding that you all provide for them, so it's greatly appreciated.
And we appreciate them,
Thanks.
even though we're not at the Urban Line Dancing because we're here doing the budget.
This might be more fun than budget stuff. Anything? Sorry, Lisa.
I enjoy the budget stuff, Lisa.
It's all good. It's all good. Any questions on either economic development or cultural arts before I'm finished? The Christmas parade was covered by Jenny. So there you go. You see, you're one ahead. We work very closely with the Downtown Alliance on the Christmas parade, but a number of years ago, that budget account was is funded through them.
And where is the Christmas parade? Oh, Lisa's.
Where is it in
Lisa
the?
is lunging. Where is the Christmas parade document? I know that we normally get a one pager on that.
Yep, it's gonna be under the Parks and Rec tab, and it is.
Parks and I can never remember that.
193,
Year 3, and I still can't remember where the Christmas parade is.
93, 94, 95.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I am happy to answer any questions about the Christmas parade if you have them now that you have that in front of you. Do the best I can.
Thank you. So where in this is the, because they requested $7,000,
That's correct.
Yes.
and what are we recommending?
Page 188.
Okay.
We're recommending 5,500.
5,500.
Flat funding.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
I may, the reason for that is if you look at page 193, this is the profit, thank you. This is the profit loss summary. So you have the estimated, which is gonna be the budget, actual. You see, from the actual column, they brought in $15,560 in income. Their expenses were $11,328, so they had a profit of $4,232. So when Eddie and I reviewed this, based on these documents, they don't need additional funding. Not when you make a profit.
That seems sound to me.
Yeah, so that's why we left it flat funded. And I did, so you have this is the spreadsheet that Jake asked about that I provide to you every year. It has each one of our nonprofits listed on here, showing you historically what the town's contribution has been. Some go further back than others. But tonight we talked about the Bel Air Alliance. So the Christmas parade is on the very bottom of the first page. And then the marketing is on the top of the next page. So we're within the budget for fiscal year 27 with our marketing. 2026 was 17,000. Jenny is, as she mentioned, requesting 20,000. We kind of split the baby, if you will, and did 18,000. That's still an 8.8% increase, which again.
18,000 or 18.5?
18,000. It's $18,500.
18.5. Okay.
Yeah. So $1,500 increase is 8.8. An 8.8% increase, which we thought was more than reasonable.
Certainly.
With the, trying to make everybody happy within the budget. Does anyone have anything else for Angela?
So for the Christmas parade, we were saying we were gonna contribute, what, 55?
55.
Okay.
We're leaving it flat funded.
And they requested
7,000.
7. Do you know if they plan on doing any enhancements, additions to the parade thing,
Not that I'm aware
just
of.
curious as to why they were asking for more when,
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know. Their request in fiscal year 26 was also $7,000, and we increased it slightly to 5,500
Right.
because again, it showed a profit.
I do not want to speak on behalf of Jenny since she is not here, but I will say, and I'm not sure if this is part of the reason for that request, is that the parade, both for our full staff at Economic Development and the full Downtown Alliance staff, takes a tremendous amount of time for staff. So it may be an operational cost for the Alliance. You don't see that from our end because that's included in what we do, but that potentially is why I don't
And
know.
she generally includes that in her expenses.
right, I would hope so, yeah.
So yeah, great point. All right, well, if we don't have anything else, then we can go to the outstanding item sheet that I passed out. Alrighty, so we started with the top two on the list from when the budget was introduced. The bike pump park project status. We currently have 5,000 in the budget. And then the code enforcement officer is currently in the budget as a part-time position working 24 hours per week. And the question was raised, should this position be a full-time position? We can discuss that now or when we get to the planning and the public works budget.
At the appropriate
Yeah,
Mm.
perfect. Okay. And then I've
Yep.
added, I'm sorry, Eddie, what did you say? Okay. added number 3 to provide the value of the portfolio. So Jake, it's gonna fluctuate throughout the fiscal year, obviously. So I may just take the high and the low and.
Yeah, just a ballpark.
Yep, and I also,
The value of our portfolio.
I prepare an investment report
Mhm.
every month. So I may send you that so you can take a
I'd
look
be
at it.
fascinated to see that, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I'll send, obviously I'll send it to all of you, but
Yeah.
I'll give you a smattering of several months so that you can take a look at that.
Fantastic, thank you.
Okay? Yep. Anything else from tonight that I missed that you all would like to add to the list?
When we do come up for the code enforcement officer, kind of like to know the difference between what's the cost of a part-time 24 and a loaded full-time, because I'm sure the part-time may not, does it include benefits and stuff?
No, part-time
Right.
doesn't
So
have
part-time is going to
benefits.
be more like an hourly thing, and then, so going, so going 2 more days could be a big step in expense.
It would,
Okay.
plus
And-
benefits.
Right, plus, I mean, yeah, plus
Yep,
benefits, yeah.
Yep, it
When you
will
load
be.
it with all the stuff, yeah.
Mhm. Yep,
Okay.
okay.
Just have an idea what that delta would be.
I can do that. Yep,
Okay.
no problem. Anybody else?
I figured that would be the first thing you would calculate when we look at it for the budget, being a numbers person, but.
Yep, no worries at all. Gavin, Kristen, you're awake, so that's a really good sign on your first budget session. I did not put you to sleep.
No, I'm just amazed at what you do.
Well, thank you.
I love the budget because it's the time that I just get to see all of Lisa's hard work, and I feel bad that I love it so much because I just get to come in on the very back end and ask, oh, what's this about? What's this about? What's this about? And you spent 12 months preparing this thing, and I'm just over here, like getting the finished product. But I, for one, this is, and you might throw the binder at me. This is like my favorite time of the year. I love going through this.
This is our biggest job. Really.
That's exactly right.
And
That's
this is our
what we're
biggest
here for.
responsibility, and Lisa, you make
Yes.
it easy because you're very organized, and I know the budget's already balanced before you come in here, which makes it even easier. But we do appreciate your hard work on this,
Absolutely.
and everyone's hard work. I know all the department heads and everybody are involved as well, so.
Like I told you when we did our training, if you could get me to understand this, you've done a great job. I mean, that's
That's why the binder's
Yep.
pretty intimidating, but we go through it
It
a
is.
It
piece
is.
at a
It's-
time.
it's
piece at a
yes,
time.
it's amazing, and then you get it, and you're like, okay.
Yep. Well, as usual, if you all have further questions, you know where to find me, and this is just one. We'll have 5 more to go with the other various departments. And I nothing else to add to the outstanding item list then?
No,
So we're good for our first night of budget?
we are done, our very
Alrighty.
first
I
night.
believe we meet again next Thursday.
Yep.
Right, 4:30.
Okay.
Okay.
And thank you, Angela, you did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. In that case, I guess, Angela, you'll be departed? All right. And do we need Lisa? No. All right, she's departing as well. We do need poor Mr. Klein? Yes. There you go. Okay. All right,
right.
well, let us,
At this time, I would make a motion that this portion of the meeting will be closed under the provisions of the Maryland Open Meetings Act, General Provisions, Article 3, Section 305B 1, 7, and 8. The topics of discussion will be to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice and to consult with staff, consultants, or other individuals about pending litigation regarding the Harford County Circuit Court case number C12CV25001030, Harford County, Maryland versus Town of Bel Air, Maryland et al., and to discuss a personnel matter. The reason for closed session discussion of the above topics will be because public discussion of confidential information and legal strategies can compromise the attorney-client privilege and inhibit the ability of the public body to receive candid and uninhibited legal guidance, and because public discussion of a personnel matter could breach the expectation of confidentiality and fail to protect the privacy of individuals involved as well as the integrity of the deliberative process.
thank you, Commissioner Taylor. May I have a second? Commissioner Chismar.
Second.
All right, any discussion of the closed session? All right, before we vote, I will just say for the folks at home that we will not be conducting any further public business, but we'll adjourn after we have completed our closed session. And now I will call the roll for the vote. Commissioner Foss?
Aye.
Commissioner Chismar?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
And Commissioner Hanley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. So we are now in closed session at